Let's just give you a quick peek of what the program is going to look like. So we expect that we would start to see members of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives enter the chamber at about 9:45.
Yeah.
And then afterwards at 9:50, we should see the former governors general, former prime ministers, presidents and speakers, puisine judges, and the Bishop of St. George. Yes, and that should take about 2 minutes, and then the prime minister will arrive at 9:52 in the Parliament yard, and he is going to be given a general salute. Over to you.
Of course, and this is significant because when you have the ceremonial state opening of Parliament, there's a lot of intricate things that happen. Everything is planned down to a T because really this is a national event. It ranks on, events like independence parades and so on. I mean, it is right up there. So this is a very important event, and we're going to see the inspection of the guards as well by Her Excellency. So what is going to happen according to the program? Parliament would start, and then we would see an adjournment, and then the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate would go outside of the Parliament, so they would be at the Parliament yard, and then the Governor General would go out, and then we're going to see the inspection of the guards. And she takes her time to do so. She would say hello to one or two folks and so out there, and our men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force are smartly dressed this morning. I just saw a shot from outside. I don't know if our team could bring it up, but we can see shoes sparkling from where we are. So someone took their time to polish their shoes this morning. I mean, this is a really good time. This is something that we like to observe. It's something that we like to see. Our men and women take a lot of pride in what they're doing, and we expect to see a very good representation. As we can see, persons are coming in to the Parliament. We're seeing little foots moving about, feet moving about, and they're trying to hustle in to get a seat so that they can witness this historic moment. We just want to remind our viewers that this broadcast is being brought to you, everything that you're seeing here today, by the Government Information Service and, of course, the technical team at the Grenada Houses of Parliament.
Oh, yes, and we are so happy that we can be here this morning to witness this. And so, friends, we really look forward to what is going to happen in the Parliament this morning. But of course, we pay attention to what happens outside as well. So there's going to be the Prime Minister is going to arrive, then the Governor General is going to arrive, and we're going to have all these ceremonies that will take place, and then they enter the chamber, and that too has its own what is it? Drama, we can say, yes, because everything is very well choreographed. And we expect that everything is going to run off without a hitch this morning. And we really do look forward to the opening, to the Governor General's speech. Of course, this is usually done by the Prime Minister, but she speaks on behalf of her government because she is the head of state.
Of course,
yes?
That's right.
And so these little bits, we need to know. And of course, as we are here, you realize that this is the 11th Parliament of Grenada, and these are little things that we don't pay much attention to. But a parliament just goes about its life. It has its beginning when we vote in a government.
That's
yes,
right.
It has its beginning, and it ends because before we go to general elections, we have to dissolve the parliament. And when that parliament is dissolved, then when a new one comes, there's a new parliament. And so, in our 50 years, we'll be celebrating next year in our 49th year. So we're in our 49th year as an independent country. We are in our 11th parliament.
That's right.
So in that time, every 4 or 5 years, there are elections and a new parliament comes to being.
That's right. The first session actually opened on February 7th, 1974. So that is a huge feat, to achieve. And as you mentioned, we are getting ready. We are en route, really, to 50-year celebrations of our independence. This is big.
It is going to be big, And, interestingly enough, we've listened to the conversations that are taking place about independence coming and so on. Now, as I like to say, Grenada is going to lean for next year with the number of people who are going to be coming home for the 50th,
Yeah.
And but interestingly, there's a lot of conversation about when we begin the commemoration and the celebration, so to speak, of our 50th on the 19th of October.
That's right.
And, you know, I themed it brighter out of darkness. I know some people are upset. Oh, you know, somebody said there are only 365 days of the year, you had to pick one. But interestingly enough, October 19th, for me, is one of the darkest days in Grenada's history.
Yeah.
And I think out of that, because we have sort of, not had to deal with, we still feel a certain amount of trauma.
That's right. Yeah.
From that event that took place on the 19th of October, 40 years ago. This year it'll be 40 years, eh?
That's right.
And trauma from it. So I understand that visceral feeling that people get when you hear you say the 19th. But I've been going to the fort for probably more than 10 years now on the 19th with the Martyrs Foundation and so on, commemorating the day. And I think it was more than time that there's some national recognition of the date. And as much as it was controversial, you know, the beginning of for independence in 1974, the country was in total turmoil. I mean, you're too young to know, but they probably would have heard about it.
But I've heard the stories.
You know, but as a child, I mean, I was 11. We had to leave Grenada. My mother is Trinidadian, and we went to Trinidad for a little bit. She took us away. Daddy was here. Because there was just absolute turmoil. And this nation was birthed, so to speak, in darkness. There was no electricity.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand that we must remember that we were born out of darkness.
It carries a lot of weight.
A lot of significance,
really,
yes.
And it's like you said, it's really good to see that the prominence and the respect and, you know, all of those things are given to the events that happen on that day.
Yep.
It is about time. It is part of our healing process.
Yep.
People say, oh, it happened so long ago. Get over it. It's not that simple.
No, it's not that simple.
You know, we still, even generations apart from those that lived there, we still feel that. I still feel that, you know, and what is amazing to see is that government is trying to preserve a lot of that heritage and that memory and that history. We see the work that's happening on Fort George.
Yes.
A lot. I don't know when last someone took a walk up that area. I mean, you can't go onto the fort right now because of the construction that's taking place. But there is a lot of work happening at Fort George. I am telling you, I got to visit there recently with the GIS team and the Minister for Mobilization, the Honorable Andy Williams, just to take a look at the progress of work. And I am telling you, take it from me, we are going to be awed, jaw dropped, everything when the work is finished. And what is taking place, we have a lot of restoration specialists and so up there, because people said, oh, it looks like they're plastering the walls with concrete. And so no. They took their time with toothbrushes sometimes, you know, and they cleaned the walls. So what we're looking at is what the structure looked like back then. That is what we're seeing right now. So this is the original stones and walls and so on. That is how it looked when it was just erected, you know.
That's what we talk about,
everything,
restoration.
exactly. And everything is so intricate down to a T. I mean, they are so respectful of the property. And I remember speaking to the restoration specialist from Trinidad, and he mentioned, and there's so much history going on there, he mentioned that he grew up in Grenada with his family. And when the incidents of October 19th and so happened, his family went back to Trinidad. You know, another one that is his assistant, he said he remembered that his family was actually, his father actually was tortured and so back then because he was close to the Gary regime and that kind of thing, you know. So he remembered his mom taking them out of Grenada and they had to leave. He went to Trinidad as well, and now he is back here. They are back here and they are working on the fort. I mean, the amount of stories that are being told from just the workers. I mean, you have Grenadians working alongside the Colombians and so on, and they're learning specialty jobs and that kind of thing. I mean, this is not just the regular run-of-the-mill, build a building and leave, you know, but it is really amazing to watch, you know, and it feels like everybody is just a part of history, just putting pieces of the puzzle together so that our generations can enjoy. I'm telling you, we're living in good times. You know? I mean, sometimes we think
we're living in historic times. You know. But we have witnessed in our short lives seismic shifts in the way that people live, in the way that people work. and so on, The last time was probably the Industrial Revolution, as we talk about. Now we live in a digital age.
That's right.
And every 3 years or every 2 years, there's some seismic. Now we're into the age of AI.
That's right.
We have seen cell phones develop. I remember rotary phones, and then I remember push button phones, and then now we have cell phones that were these little things, and now you're doing everything on a screen.
That's right. Right.
So we have seen a lot, and we will continue to see a lot as we go forward.
Yes. And what I like to see too is that government is trying to tap into, like they want to ensure that citizens are aligned with the changes that are happening globally. So we see a lot of the, like you mentioned, the growth and development in ICT and that kind of a thing, and the digital economy and so on. So they have begun a program where they're going to be introducing certain ICT training in schools from as low as the primary level. So I mean, we're just ensuring that at the end of the day, our citizens can benefit, they can take advantage of all the changes that are happening around us.
Of course, because we have to, at the end of the day, survive.
That's right.
And we have to give our people the tools to be able to survive in a world where change is constant.
That's right.
And it just happens all the time. So that is what we're doing, and then we're realizing now that it's not all about the academics, but about the skills. You need the skills, and so we're doing what is necessary.
So
I see the police have now arrived. We're looking at the acting commissioner of police, who is taking the salute.
Yes.
Right, and so the acting commissioner of police has just left the podium, and we are returned. And so, friends, I was just reading some interesting information about the mace. Before the parliament begins, what gives it its authority is this instrument called a mace.
Yes.
And the mace is put in two positions. When it's in the lower position, parliament is not yet convened. Yes. But before the parliament convenes officially, the mace must be lifted into a high position, and that gives the parliament the authority to begin.
Right.
Yes.
So parliament is in session.
It's in session, and we have two mace. I wonder if it's maces or mace, but there may be maces, two maces, right? So one, because we have a bicameral house. Bicameral meaning the Senate. We have the Senate and the lower house, which is the House of Representatives, meeting on different occasions. There are unicameral houses, like in the case of St. Vincent, where they all sit together.
Yes.
So the Senate sits with the lower house to do business. So in this instance, so we have two maces. And I was reading something about the mace for the House of Representatives. And it's, we should pay attention. The mace of the House of Representatives was inherited from its predecessor, the Legislative Council. It is made of silver, solid silver, with a crown and Maltese cross mounted at the dome. It bears, among other things, the old arms of the island of Grenada, which consists of a primitive sugar mill operated by oxen and slaves, with the superscription, Hei tibi erunt artes, meaning, these will be thine arts. Unpack that for a while. The whole is surrounded by the inscription Sigillum insularum Grenadae et Grenadilorum. the crest of the island of Grenada and the Grenadines. And in 1934, the mace, which weighed 45 pounds and measured 4 feet 9 inches, was repaired and given a coating of gold, after which it was exhibited in the House of Commons Library at Westminster for 1 week. Interestingly enough, this mace, they believe that this mace, well, you know, is one of the largest in the world. They can't trace when it came to Grenada. And it is believed that it was a special gift made to the old House of Assembly, which functioned until 1876. So this is a very old mace, very, very old. Yes, and then it disappeared. It disappeared for 55 years.
Oh my goodness.
It disappeared for 55 years and reappeared in 1931 when the Constitution underwent a further change. It's interesting to read. Oh, I see the Prime Minister of, is it St. Lucia? I think I see the Prime Minister of St. Lucia who's going to, is it St. Lucia?
Let's just see if we can get a shot here. Let's just see if we can get a look at that face again. And we can make a determination.
I did not recognize, I don't think it's St. Lucia, but it's one of the islands up the chain. As soon as we know, we'll let you know.
Yes, because we do have a lot of dignitaries visiting
A lot
today,
of dignitaries visiting today,
customary,
yes.
So we can see.
Oh, right.
All right.
The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis is with us today for the opening. And I suspect very shortly we will see the Prime Minister come to take the general salute. So he should arrive shortly. We're seeing the, if we could go back to the yard just a bit, because I believe that we should see presidents and speakers and the judges arrive, and certainly the bishop.
Just to let our people know,
yes.
It's the Honorable Terence Drew. He is the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis.
Honorable Terence Drew, and we see the arrival of the Prime Minister. Yes. Yes, friends, we are witnessing the arrival of the Prime Minister of Grenada.
And he's being received by the Commissioner of Police when he will take his place
at the podium
for his salute. That was the salute for Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell. He has just arrived, smartly dressed.
Oh, yes. I saw the socks this
The infamous socks. He looks quite dashing this morning.
Oh, yes, dashing
and we
this morning.
expect all of our dignitaries on the inside to come out. I can't wait to get a view of the hats, and so we know the hats are always a treasured thing.
The hats are
in
out.
The house.
The hats are out. You know, and if, you know, the office of the Parliament is staffed by people who make this thing work. all the time.
Yes.
And they're put under a lot of pressure to make sure that days like today move seamlessly. And so I want to recognize at this time Mr. Andrew Augustine, Clerk of Parliament, Ms. Charmian Blackett, Senior Administrative Officer, Sergeant 89 Henry Victor, Chief of Security, Ms. Melvina Gulston, Administrative Officer, Mr. Gayon Mark, Information Technology Officer, Ms. Danielle Blackman, Senior Hansard Reporter, Mrs. Raquel Morgan, Secretary to the Speaker, Ms. Janelle Palmer, Secretary to the President, Ms. Jasmine Redhead, Hansard Reporter, Ms. Akeda David, Hansard Reporter, Ms. Shanta Joseph, Hansard Reporter, Ms. Leisha Francis, Hansard Reporter, Ms. Jalissa Aline, Receptionist, Mr. Carlin McQueen, Chauffeur and Assistant, Mrs. Shiron Brown McIntyre, Cleaner, Ms. Sabrina Templeman, Cleaner, Ms. Kanisha Licorice, Cleaner, Mr. Eldon Walters, Groundsman, Mr. Martin James, Parliamentary Orderly, and retired Inspector Mr. Godfrey Edwards, Inspector 755, Donald Gilbert, Sergeants at Arms.
Yes.
These are the people who make this thing work. And so we must recognize them at times like these and give them their props. So far, we're looking good.
Oh yes, definitely. Everything, if you are up here at the Parliament, from the time you enter, you get to feel that you're in a place of importance.
Yes,
you know,
indeed. Everything
is aligned to a T.
Yes.
All I's dotted, and so the yard, everything is clean. There's not a speck of dust out of place. That kind of a thing, you know, inside the Parliament. I mean, this takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning, and it takes a team effort. So we really do say hats off to the team at Parliament.
Hats off to the team at Parliament, indeed.
We were talking about the mace.
Yes.
Interesting story, because you mentioned that the engravement on the mace, if I can find that page again, I cannot say what you said in Latin, but I'll say it in English terms. These will be thine arts. That is heavy to carry.
Oh, if it is heavy to carry. I mean, you know, as I was speaking about unpacking that, and I'm thinking about an old windmill. You know, we don't see the full windmill. We just see these little structures. Yeah. And inside there were oxen walking around. And slaves sometimes pushing that bar to grind that cane.
Yeah.
And the inscription is, these will be thine arts. Tells you that we were just put in a box.
Yeah.
You know, these islands put in a box.
We shall forever be this way.
That's what we will be. And folks, I'm here to tell you, that's not the destiny we want for our people.
That's right.
We will no longer be hewers of wood and drawers of water. Oh no. So, and that's why this is so important. And you know, for us, and now that we start to unpack these things, we begin to understand. Yes, but we are signaling that we're going back outside. I believe that we're going to be having the Prime Minister enter the chamber. So
so we're going to
witness that.
Yeah.
Oh yes. There's a mace.
Whereas by proclamation dated the first day of September 2023, issued under subsection 1 of section 52 of the Constitution of Grenada, Parliament was prorogued on the 4th day of September 2023. And whereas it is provided by subsection 1 of section 51 of the Constitution of Grenada that its session of Parliament shall be held at such place within Grenada and shall commence at such time as the Governor General may by proclamation appoint, And whereas it is further provided by subsection 2 of section 51 of the Constitution of Grenada that there shall be a session of Parliament once at least in every year, so that a period of 6 months shall not intervene between the last sitting of Parliament in one session and the first sitting in the next session. Now, therefore, I, Cecile La Grenade, Dame Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, Governor General in and over Grenada, do hereby appoint the Parliament Chamber at Mount Well-Lil in the tongue of St. George as the place where the second session of the 11th Parliament shall be held at 10 o'clock in the forenoon on Tuesday, the 26th day of September 2023, at the time at which the said session shall begin. And members of the said Parliament and all other His Majesty's officers and loving subjects in Grenada and all others whom it may concern are hereby required to take due notice hereof and give their ready obedience accordingly. Given under my hand and the public seal of Grenada this 11th day of September 2023 in the first year of the reign of His Majesty King Charles III. God save the Queen. Proclamation by Governor General Dame Cecile E.F. La Grenade.
Almighty God, members of both houses, that they may wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name.
I invite you to join me as we say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pray, be seated.
Is it your wish, honorable members, that the houses do now adjourn during pleasure to await the arrival of Her Excellency the Governor General? If so, please say aye.
yes, so we're back, and the House was just adjourned because we are awaiting the arrival of Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade.
Yes, indeed. And, we were having a conversation about the mace, right?
Yes.
And interestingly, the mace of the Senate, which is the most recent one in our history. And so we could talk, the mace of the Senate was designed and made by Thomas Fattorini Limited, an Italian in England, of Birmingham, England, to the requirements specified by a committee appointed by the Speaker of the former Legislative Council. Again, they're doing this for us, yes? The mace, which measures 3 feet and weighs 29 pounds, has a crown top surmounted by the traditional orb and cross. Below this, there's a bowl top, which carries an engraving of the crest of Grenada incorporated in the motto, Claroar e Tenebris on one side, and the royal cipher E, Roman numerals II, and R on the other. You know what that means?
Please tell me.
It means Elizabeth II Reina, or Elizabeth II reigns. Right, so it's done in Latin,
everything
right?
Has a
yes,
meaning
everything
and a
has a
purpose,
meaning. Yes,
yeah.
so she would have been queen at the time. So she is a reigning queen when this mace was commissioned. The stem of the mace is headed by a reed pattern embolding motifs symbolizing the main products of Grenada, cocoa, nutmeg, and banana, and a palm-fringed beach represented the tourist attractions of the island. Below this, and also above the footpiece, is a representation of the flamboyant flower, which is wrought and engraved. The boss at the base carries the figures 1967, the year in which the Senate was established.
Yes.
The footpiece is headed with the legend, Senate of Grenada, in solid relief. The mace is made of hallmark silver and special hard gilt. So you have a little bit, right, to you youngsters out there who might be listening, and of course us older ones who never paid attention to these things, and so on. At least you know a little bit about the mace, which is the instrument that tells you when Parliament is in session.
Of course, and as we sit here, we are hearing the sirens outside signaling the arrival of the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade. Of course, you would see her receiving her salute, and then we shall move on from there. So we're getting a view here by our team on the outside.
Cecile is resplendent in black and white today.
Of course, and the hat.
Oh, the hat.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Well, viewers, what you're witnessing on your screens right now is the beginning of the inspection of the guards. The Governor General arrived with her aide-de-camp, and they arrived at the Parliament Yard. She was greeted on the outside by the presiding officers of Parliament and the clerks at the table. Then she received the accorded royal salute, and now she inspects the Guard of Honor. And so we're getting a look at that. We're hearing the Royal Canadian Police Force Band at the back there singing one of our national songs. Quite a spectacle to see.
And we always enjoy it, you know, and there's always, the music always reflects us.
Yes.
You know, and that we take whatever little we can get out of these proceedings to remind us of who we are.
Yes,
you know?
of course.
And the Governor General always does a good job.
Yes, she does.
You know, she's a tall lady, and I saw her pass one of the guards just now, and he was taller, so he must be really very tall. You know?
Of course. After the inspection, the Governor General will be escorted into the presiding officer's room by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. As we know, the President of the Senate is Dr. Decima Williams,
yes.
And our nice female sitting at the helm there. Yes. We love to have that. And the Speaker of the House of Representatives is Mr. Leo Keto, right? So the both of them, they will escort the Governor General into the presiding officer's room, where they will sign the Distinguished Visitors Book. I'm telling you, a lot of intricate things happening here today.
But you see, so these things are done so that the history is actually recorded.
That's right.
You know, so when you go back, you can actually see these records, and that's what is so interesting, you know, about our past. If you know where to look, you can find a lot of information.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. This is why we want to record everything, document everything.
Yes.
So future generations have something that they can look back on.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so the Governor General has left the dais, and the procession will be as follows. The presiding officers, Her Excellency, the Governor General, the Commissioner of Police. So you see she is being greeted by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Yes. The Governor General's aide-de-camp, the Governor General's lady-in-waiting, the clerks at the table.
Yes, so they're about to sign the disc.
Yes, they're going off to sign.
And then they would enter the chamber. Once I've heard someone say that we have our first president of the Senate, which is not true. So we need to clarify some things here for our viewers this morning. We have had female presidents of the Senate before, you know, and if
one
we
is
take a
sitting
look,
right there.
Exactly. So if we take a look back in history, we would see that from 1990 to 1995, we had Senator Honorable Margaret Nichols, and she presided as president of the Senate.
Yes.
And then we had in 2004 to 2006 the Honorable Leslie N. Sion.
Yes.
And then we had in 2008 to 2013 June Purcell,
yes.
the Honorable June Purcell. And now we have residing over the Senate, we call it the Upper House.
Upper House, yes.
Dr. Decima Williams from 2022 to present.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have had some women doing great things in Parliament.
Indeed.
Definitely.
Indeed. And we talk about the houses of Parliament and the upper house and the lower house. The lower house being those who are elected by the people, imagine that. And the upper house being those who are selected.
That's right. By the people we elected.
By the people we elected in some cases, yes. By the people we elected.
Yes.
And of course some civic organizations.
That's
and
right.
so. But they represent in a kind of way the elite.
Yes.
Or people that we expect to be experts in different areas, and so we elect them to the Senate. So I guess in a way we say what anybody could be in the House of Representatives, but we need people who know what they're doing to represent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that might have been the thinking at the point in time, but. Does it work? I don't know. At the end of the day, we have. I don't know that we necessarily have to be dividing our people in that kind of way.
I don't think so.
And so, so we probably have to find another mechanism, another way. We are all members of Parliament.
That's right.
And that's it. And we all contribute to the laws, because in the Parliament is where you make the laws. Yes. And we all contribute to that. And so let's not divide ourselves into this kind of state of who is and who is.
Exactly. Precisely, and probably that's something we can look at as a nation as we go forward.
Yes.
We're about to celebrate this huge milestone, 50. What do we want Grenada to look like for the next 50 years?
Yes.
So I think this is a conversation we should start having.
Yes.
I believe it has started.
It has. I've heard the Prime Minister talk about, we have to be thinking about Republicans, becoming a Republican and so on, where we are the ones responsible for how we go forward and so on. And you read these things and you start to have a little bit of a pause and say, in 2023, this is where we are. Should we be here? And have that conversation, because it's about us now, and we must design that future that we want for ourselves and so on. And perhaps a Senate that is also elected.
Yes.
By the people, like in the U.S. You vote for your lower house, so to speak, and you vote for your senators. And so they represent the interests of the people, and everybody who sits in Parliament represents the interests of the electorate.
Exactly, but we need to have a vision as to what we want our Grenada to look like.
Indeed.
Even if we decide to become a republic at some point, what do we want that republic to look like? And there's a lot of things, a lot of history pieces. We spoke a lot about the mace today and the engravements on the mace. So is that something we want to carry into a new era of Grenada, of a new Grenada, so to speak? So there's a lot to happen. There's a lot that can happen, but it would really take that all-citizen approach. Everybody really need to have a voice in the matter, so that we can have a full representation of what the general public would like to have.
Indeed.
It's something that could be explored further.
Yes, because we see these things engraved, the nutmeg and the cocoa.
Do we always want to be known as nutmeg and cocoa people?
Right.
That kind of thing. It is a conversation that is worth having.
Exactly. So, it's not about nutmeg oil or the derivatives or the lovely chocolate that we produce now, world-winning flavors and so on, about the honeys that and all of the value added that is part of our reality now, and what our young people are doing, and how many of us are out there and doing so many other things in the world, to be just stuck on a cocoa and nutmeg, inscription somewhere. We could move beyond that.
Definitely. We spoke a lot about, the characters of Parliament, really. So we talked about the President of the Senate. We talked about the House of Representatives and so on. There is a key person that sits in Parliament that we hear a lot of, but we don't speak a lot of.
Yes.
And that is the Clerk of Parliament. That position is being served by Mr. Andrew Augustine, and he has held that seat for quite some time. But what does Mr. Augustine do? What is the responsibility of the Clerk of Parliament? And he is really the Chief Accounting Officer and Procedural Advisor of the Houses of Parliament. He's responsible for maintaining the records of proceedings and endorsing the proper copies of bills and acts. In the role of an administrator, he presides over the election of the Speaker at the first sitting of a new Parliament after general elections. So he is more or less the one that keeps Parliament together.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
So we hear a lot about the Clerk of Parliament, and he also sits in Parliament with if it's the Senate, with the President also, So he would sit up there because he is like a presiding officer. He ensures that everything goes according to rule and law and plan and that kind of thing. Sometimes when you look at Parliament, if you are a viewer of Parliament or so, you would see the Speaker also, pause their mic for a bit and lean over to speak to someone right in front of them, so just to give you a picture as to where the Clerk of Parliament sits. So we say hats off to Mr. Augustine.
Indeed.
He's running a tight ship.
A tight ship,
and he's doing pretty well. Yes.
National Lotteries Authority is a proud sponsor of many cultural activities within the Tri-Island state of Grenada.
My name is Anderson Matheson, also known as Leftist, and I'm a calypsonian and string band music player from Carrico. I support the games of the National Lottery Authority because culture benefits tremendously. Annually, the NLA supports the Carrico Pitamatic Carnival, the Carrico String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
Good morning, viewers and listeners. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Pick 3 Mid-Morning Draw for today, Tuesday, September 26, 2023. I am Anisha Charles. With me this morning is Ms. Dion Francis from RSO and Company Limited, accountants and advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this draw is conducted in a fair and accountable manner, and the game balls with industry standards and in no way tampered with. At this time, you should have tickets at hand. It's Daily Pick 3. It pays to play. Good luck. First up this morning is check your tickets in the meantime. First number up is 2, second number is 7, third and final number is 9. Let's recap those numbers. Numbers on the screen. Check your tickets. First number up is 2. The second is 7. Third and final is 9. So that's 2, 7, and 9. Congratulations, all winners. For Daily Pick 3 tickets drawn last evening, we had a total prize payout of $6,360 with a total of 38 winners. And of course, congratulations to those of you who are part of this payout. Tune in next week to play with Multi-X Draw. We'll see you soon.
For a limited time, the NLA has dropped all of the 2X balls from the Multi-X draw. This means that you, our valuable players, have greater chances of multiplying your winnings up to 5 times more in our 2X drop promotion. Yay! And that's not all. As an additional bonus, there will be fewer free play or FP balls to draw from too. Now you have more reasons to add Multi-X to your playway bets. So value your dreams, win your way, and multiply your winnings up to 5 times more in the NLA's 2X Dropped promotion. Promo runs until Friday, 20th October, 2023. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Playwright Multi-X Mid-Morning Draw for today, Tuesday, September 26th, 2023. I am Anisha Charles. With me again is Ms. Dion Francis from Morrison Company Limited, Accountants and Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner, with the game balls with industry standards and in no way tampered with. Let's play Playwright, value your dreams, so win your way. Good luck. Player number for this morning is 9. Let's recap the number 09. 9 represents the dream symbol cat. Congratulations, all winners. It's now time to select your multi-X winning ball. Reminding you of our ongoing promotion with the 2X ball drop, and that goes from now until October 20th. It's time to select your winning multi-X ball. Good luck to you. Your winning multi-X ball for this morning is 3X. Let's recap. Your winning multi-X ball for this morning is 3X. Congratulations, all winners. For Playwright multi-X tickets drawn last evening, we had a total prize payout of $60,048 with a total of 535 winners. And of course, congratulations to those of you who are part of this payout. Tune in next to catch a daily cash flow draw. We'll see you really soon. Welcome back, everyone, to another daily cash flow mid-morning draw for today, Tuesday, September 26th, 2023. I am Anisha Charles. With me once again is Ms. Dion Francis from RSO & Company Limited, Accountants and Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner, with the game balls with industry standards and no is tampered with. This time, sure tickets at hand. It's daily cash flow. More plays, bigger prizes. Let's find what this morning's winning numbers will be. Good luck to you. Okay, check your tickets. First number this morning is, first number is 8, second number is 6, third number up, third number is 4, fourth and final number is also 4. Okay, let's recap those numbers. It's on the screen. Check your tickets. First number is 8, the second 6, third 4, fourth and final is 4. So that's 8, 6, 4, and 4. Congratulations, all winners. For daily cash flow tickets drawn last evening, we had a total prize payout of $4,000 with a total of 14 winners. And of course, congratulations to those of you who are part of this payout. Reminding you as always to go out and grab your tickets for the midday games, because when you do, you help to support sports, culture, and the nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Oh, yes, right. And so we're back.
House is in session, yes.
be seated.
All sit.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, good morning. As we embark on this second session of the 11th Parliament, my government stands before you today with a great sense of honor and gratitude. Despite the challenges of the past year, our collective commitment to transform our beloved nation, to build together a just nation in which every individual has an equal opportunity to realize his or her full potential is bearing fruit. In just this short period, my government has achieved many great successes and has renewed hope among our cherished citizens of our beloved nation. Undoubtedly, my government has made remarkable progress in advancing its progressive and inclusive transformative agenda. Today, as we stand on the cusp of our 50th anniversary as an independent nation, we are energized and excited about the future. Even in the face of global economic uncertainties, we remain confident that together we will continue to thrive and prosper as one people, one nation under God. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, as we approach 5 decades of independence, our theme for this session of Parliament is Forward into 50, reflecting on our past, solidifying our future. This theme is rooted in our overarching theme for the 11th Parliament, transformative development towards a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous Grenada, which in and of itself is deeply rooted in our Vision 2035. Grenada, a resilient and prosperous nation with a conscious and caring citizenry, promoting human dignity and realizing its full potential through sustainable economic, social, and environmental progress for all. With God's grace, we have been diligently working side by side to lay the foundation to commence the transformation to build a better Grenada for all. Our focus in this session of Parliament is to continue building the foundation while consolidating these hard-earned achievements and redoubling our efforts in areas where progress has been slower. Celebrating our Jubilee anniversary. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, on February the 7th, 2024, our nation will attain 50 years of independence. This is a defining achievement in and of itself, a testament of the strength, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of our people. We will mark this historic milestone with a year-long commemorative celebration of events, projects, programmatic, and policy initiatives truly befitting of our Golden Jubilee, and which will be designed to have positive legacy impacts on future generations of Grenadians. The 50th Anniversary Committee has already announced some of these initiatives, including the issuance of a 50th Anniversary Independence commemorative EC $50 note. Secondly, for the first time, the declaring of 19th of October as a national public holiday in solemn recognition, reflection, and appreciation of the tragic sacrifice and martyrdom of Prime Minister Maurice Bishop, his cabinet colleagues, and the citizens of Grenada who lost their lives on October the 19th, 1983. Third, for the first time, the naming and celebration of our national heroes. Fourth, the renaming of our national landmarks. And fifth, the introduction and teaching of Grenadian history in our schools, which began in the new school year. More details of the events and projects will be provided by the National Organizing Committee at the launch of the 50th Anniversary celebrations on the 19th of October 2023. Protecting Grenada's patrimony. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, as we commemorate our 50th anniversary of independence, it is paramount that we, as a nation, protect our patrimony so that future generations of Grenadians can continue to benefit from the courage, hard work, resilience, and success of our people. The decision to sell, buy a freehold, lands on Grandance Beach and other strategic locations on the south coast, which are prime lands for tourist development, to private interests is clearly unpatriotic and deleterious to ensuring that those to whom these lands are sold can be held accountable to develop and engage in robust economic activity on such lands. To this end, my government has successfully negotiated and reacquired the freehold interest in 3 of these sites: the site upon which the Grenada Radisson sits, the Kawana Bay site, and the site located immediately before the Umbrellas restaurant. These sites shall not only be transferred via leasehold as a matter of policy aimed at ensuring that the next generation of Grenadians have an opportunity to say how these sites can be utilized. It is for this reason that my government will swiftly move to introduce legislation in Parliament within the last quarter of this year to ensure that state or crown lands which are strategically located in our prime developmental and tourist area can only be transferred by a lease and not by way of freehold sale. Oil and gas. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, as of today, we are yet to solve the mystery of Grenada's offshore oil and gas reserves. Very little records can be found anywhere within the government, and our technocrats within the ministries and departments have very little information on this matter. In essence, upon assuming office, my government was not provided with any transition report or any files on Grenada's legal or contractual obligations or Grenada's progress in relation to its oil and gas reserves. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, this situation is untenable and completely unacceptable, and my government is committed to doing all within its power to unearth the mystery of Grenada's oil and gas status. To this end, my government has established a technical working group chaired by a past Minister for Finance, Mr. Nazim Burke, and comprised of distinguished Grenadians, including Mr. Rodney George, Mr. Richard Duncan, Mr. Raymond Nurse, and the Office of the Attorney General, represented by the Solicitor General, to investigate and to do what it takes to demystify our oil and gas situation. The mandate of this technical working group is to fully assess Grenada's hydrocarbon potential and, if found to be commercially viable, devise a strategy and action plan to explore, develop, and monetize it for the benefit of the citizens and the patrimony of our nation. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government's strategic priorities for this session of Parliament are: 1, citizen safety and national security; 2, education and skills development; 3, youth empowerment; 4, health and wellness; 5, agriculture, food and nutrition security; 6, energy transition and environmental sustainability; 7th, foreign policy and trade; 8, restoring the public service integrity, maintaining industrial peace; 9, housing and community development; 10, economic growth and job creation; 11, the creative industry; 12, physical and digital infrastructure; and 13, the blue economy. Citizen safety and national security. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, a safe, secure, and peaceful Grenada is a fundamental pillar of our way of life, and without it, much of our transformation agenda will be brought to a screeching halt. My government is committed to preserving our long-standing record as a low-crime nation and one of the safest places in the Caribbean. While not unique to Grenada, the recent increase in violent crimes involving the use of firearms is a major concern for each and every Grenadian, both at home and in the diaspora. As a peaceful and loving citizenry, we must do everything in our power to nip this trend in the bud. In this regard, my government has established and will convene a National Security Council whose mandate will include to consult widely with Grenadians across all sectors to assist with the creation of a national security policy and strategy to improve and strengthen our national security architecture. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government will introduce CCTV cameras across public spaces and other vulnerable spots across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and the required legislation to ensure that the footage from the CCTV cameras can be used as evidence in court proceedings to successfully prosecute criminals. This proactive measure will help enhance surveillance, deter criminal activities, and promote a safer environment for all our citizens. My government will also move swiftly before the end of the year to amend the Firearms Act to provide much stiffer penalties for persons convicted of possession, trading, or use of illegal firearms. A number of important initiatives will be taken by my government related to the Royal Grenada Police Force, the RGPF. We are committed to fostering a more inclusive and responsive approach to law enforcement. To this end, we will initiate a consultative process engaging various sectors of our society to solicit their valuable input on how policing can better address their specific needs. This inclusive dialogue will enable us to develop a more effective and community-centered law enforcement strategy that reflects the concerns and priorities of our diverse citizenry. Having recognized the importance of effective human resource management and succession planning, my government has appointed a human resource manager and a planner for the RGPF. This historic and strategic decision is aimed at optimizing the efficient utilization of our human resource capital. These professionals will play a crucial role in ensuring that our officers are well supported and the RGPF can continue to evolve and excel in its mission. Recognizing the challenges and trauma that members of the RGPF may encounter in the line of duty, my government is fully committed to their well-being. We will establish access to counseling services to effectively address post-traumatic stress disorder and other comprehensive psychosocial support to our dedicated law enforcement personnel. This initiative aims to prioritize the mental health and resilience of our officers, ensuring that they receive the care they deserve while continuing their vital work in protecting our communities. We are dedicated to optimizing the operations of the RGPF by re-evaluating its structure and eliminating non-essential departments. Starting in 2024, we will transition the responsibilities of the licensing and port security departments to civilian personnel, enabling our police force to concentrate exclusively on their primary duties. This strategic move will optimize the RGPF's resources and enhance its ability to fulfill its core functions. With respect to His Majesty's prisons, emphasis will be placed on infrastructure enhancement, enhancing rehabilitation efforts, and promoting self-sufficiency within the prison system. Education and skills development. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reiterates its philosophy that our human resources are our most precious assets and a fundamental contributor to the social and economic development of our nation. Further, that education is a basic human right. My government will therefore continue to prioritize education and skills development as a fundamental basis for transforming our society and people. In the past year, significant strides have been made in this regard, including 1, the removal of registration fees at the pre-primary, primary, and secondary levels aimed at eliminating financial barriers to education, increasing subventions to schools and other educational institutions to cover operational costs. 3rd, the launch of free tuition program up to the tertiary level. 4th, curriculum development to include the teaching of Grenadian history in our schools, Spanish in primary schools, and the expansion of the teaching of creative and performing arts. 5th, the approval of a technical and vocational education training TVET policy and strategy to enhance TVET training and address skills mismatches in the job market. 6, a roadmap for delivering coding to students has been developed and a pilot project is currently underway. 7th, the Healthy, Smart Nutrition Program strategy has been developed, encompassing interventions in physical education and improved nutrition through local, healthier foods. To further transform the education landscape, my government will prioritize the review and amendment of the Education Act to increase the school leaving age to 18, the implementation of the TVET policy and strategy, the launch of the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC reimbursement program, the student loan scheme, the amendments to the early childhood and special education needs policies, among other areas. Youth empowerment. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, youth empowerment is a top priority of my government for many reasons, including the youthful nature of our population. We will therefore continue to place emphasis on creating a vibrant and empowered youth community that drives social, economic, and cultural progress in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. In the past year, significant progress has been made in advancing our youth empowerment agenda. These include successful execution of 4 parish-level and 2 national youth parliaments, where 125 young people have the opportunity to debate on issues of national and regional importance. The successful relaunch of the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors Program, which seeks to integrate the views of Caribbean youth towards a robust and inclusive Caribbean community. In Carriacou, the Progressive After-School Experience Program was launched, an initiative that aims to provide quality education and enrich opportunities for children in the village of Windward, Carriacou. The certification of over 100 participants as part of the Empower program who completed various courses and skills training in Grenada and Carriacou is highly commendable. The reintroduction of cricket competition amongst primary schools and the successful hosting of the Windward Island School Games. In this session of Parliament, my government will continue to emphasize transformative strategies for youth empowerment, including in the area of youth engagement, education and skills development, digital literacy, culture and creative industries, employment and entrepreneurship support. Health and wellness. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reiterates its commitment to transforming our healthcare system as one of its top priorities, with the goal of making Grenada the health capital of the Eastern Caribbean. Despite significant challenges confronting the sector, we have made substantial progress. Key achievements in the past year include: 1, the purchase of 83.9 acres of land in Calavini, St. George, which will be the site for the construction and operation of Grenada's climate-smart new teaching hospital project. 2, the strengthening of human resource capacity through the hiring of additional health professionals and improving employment conditions. 3rd, the introduction of CT scan services. 4th, the commencement of hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis services at the General Hospital. The commissioning of a new accident and emergency unit in November of 2022. 6th, the refurbishment of 5 theaters at the General Hospital to international standards. 7th, the completion of a new modern pharmacy department at the Phase 2 building of the General Hospital. 8th, the enhancement of primary health care through the launch of primary health care teams and the upgrading of several health centers and medical stations, including Hillsborough Smart Health Center, Victoria Medical Station, the Princess Royal and Princess Alice Hospitals, and the Westerhall and Good Hope Medical Stations. The signing of a Memorandum of Understanding with the McKinney Foundation, headed by its director, Dr. Timothy McKinney, a graduate of St. George's University, to promote women's health and to provide free gynecological and urological health care treatments and services to women in Grenada. 10th, the renegotiation of contractual engagements with the Joint Independent Provider Association, JIPA, for the implementation of the National Health Insurance Project. These achievements underscore my government's commitment in prioritizing the health and wellness of our nation. The focus of this session of Parliament will be to further strengthen human resource capacity and primary healthcare systems and advance the new hospital and health insurance projects. Agriculture, food and nutrition security. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government's vision for the transformation of the agriculture sector on enhancing food and nutrition security through increasing local food production and consumption, agro-processing, and other various initiatives. Important advances have been made in this regard thus far. My government successfully mobilized $27 million from the World Bank for our food security enhancement project, aimed at providing increased access to farm machinery and equipment, fertilizers, improved crop varieties, better and higher quality breeds of pigs, goats, and sheep. My government signed a memorandum of understanding with St. Vincent and the Grenadines to cooperate on agriculture and food security programs, including crop protection, forestry, livestock, agro-processing, marine resources, and trade. Over 60,000 plantlets were propagated for sale and distribution to our farming communities and in support of the spice replanting project. In keeping with my government's stated policy to invest in emerging sectors, a commission on cannabis legislation and regulation was established to work towards the decriminalization and legalization of cannabis and the establishment of a cannabis industry. Our focus in this session of Parliament will be on consolidating these gains, including accelerating the implementation of the Food Security Enhancement Project to provide direct benefits to farmers and fisher folk, and by extension, our nation. My government will establish 3 animal breeding centers at Laura St. David, Maribor St. Andrew, and Limlair Carriacou. Additional cold storage facilities, commercial ice machines, and training in safety at sea will be provided to our fisherfolk. The implementation of the OECS Food and Agriculture System Transformation FAST strategy to enhance food production, self-reliance, and economic development. The rollout of the integrated landscape approaches and investment in sustainable land management projects on the Grand Bras estate, and the continued implementation of the Youth in Agriculture project. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reiterates its commitment to successfully reforming the Marketing and National Importing Board, MNIB, to support farmers and the agriculture and agro-processing sector, and the new entity is expected to come on stream no later than the first quarter of 2024. Energy transition, environmental sustainability. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, through strategic alliances with local, regional, and international partners, my government is diligently pursuing its agenda to protect and preserve our pristine environment, including combating climate change and promoting renewable energy. Highlights of major achievements in the past year and strategic priorities in this new session of Parliament include climate resilient training. In October of 2023, key stakeholders will receive training in the Caribbean Climate Online Risk and Adaptation Tool, CORAL, enabling climate resilient decision making. Accreditation to climate funds. My government is actively working on accreditation to the Adaptation Fund and the Green Climate Fund to secure funding for climate initiatives. Resource mobilization. My government, in collaboration with the Commonwealth Secretariat, has completed a resource mobilization strategy significant funding has already been mobilized or is under negotiation, including for the Climate Smart Infrastructure Project from the Saudi Development Fund. Moreover, several concept notes have been approved, paving the way for full project proposals to securing funding. Mainstreaming climate resilience. Efforts are underway to mainstream climate resilience across sectors like education and fisheries, with a focus on combating coastal erosion and sea level rise. Renewable energy transition. Grenada is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and is promoting green cooling and renewable energy solutions. The Limla Solar PV project in Carriacou, the Grenada Geothermal Energy Development Project in St. John and St. Patrick, and the proposed energy efficiency project in public buildings are significant steps in this direction. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reaffirms its commitment to reform the electricity sector as quintessential to the transformation of our nation. This will require a tremendous effort given the gravity and complexity of the current situation. That notwithstanding, satisfactory progress is being made in this area. We have developed a national energy policy to determine Grenada's optimal energy mix and have completed an assessment of Grenlec's generation capacity. We are now working feverishly to mobilize resources to expand renewable energy generation. My government is pleased to report that we are at an advanced stage of negotiations in securing funding for a mega solar PV system at the Maurice Bishop International Airport, which will contribute significantly to reducing our reliance on diesel, the modernizing of our electric grid, and the building of resilience in the electricity sector. My government recognizes the need to tackle the modernization and reform of the transport sector, and we have undertaken a comprehensive study of the sector with grant support from the Caribbean Development Bank. The results of this important study will pave the way for our interventions in the sector aimed at reducing our transportation problems and greening the sector. Meanwhile, my government will continue to incentivize the adoption of hybrid and electric vehicles through concessions and other forms of support. Waste management. The Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority is investing in recycling facilities, color-coded waste collection, and partnership to tackle waste-related challenges. Initiatives for recycling, organic waste, and landfill improvements are also progressing. Foreign policy and trade. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government is committed to extensive international engagement as a vital tool in Grenada's foreign policy. Our aim is to promote inclusive, sustainable economic growth and raise Grenada's profile on the global stage. My government will establish an effective cadre of diplomatic envoys to aid in economic recovery and investment generation, thereby broadening Grenada's diplomatic trade and investment options. So far, my government has successfully appointed and trained a new group of diplomats and expanded staffing at missions worldwide. We have appointed 5 sectoral ambassadors and are in the process of establishing diplomatic relations with several African countries. Diaspora outreach is another key component which plans to leverage the Grenadian diaspora's potential contributions to innovation, entrepreneurship, philanthropy, and investment. The establishment of the Grenada Diaspora Advisory Council and the appointment of an ambassador for diaspora affairs underscore my government's commitment to nurturing and enhancing connections with Grenadians abroad. Trade is an area of critical importance for my government as the nation seeks to augment production in the marine, fishing, and agro-processing sectors. Therefore, beneficial trade relationships that provide opportunities for growth and creation of sustainable jobs while simultaneously reducing our food import bill will be explored, with a view to expanding and diversifying our export base. Restoring the public service integrity, maintaining industrial peace. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, since assuming office in June of last year, my government has taken decisive steps to restore the integrity of the public service aimed at rebuilding trust between the government and the public. We inherited a demoralized public service caused by years of victimization, low job satisfaction, poor working conditions, a complex maze of ad hoc human resource policies, among other factors. Added to that, the industrial climate was poisoned by mistrust, further compounding the negative impact of low productivity and inadequate quality of service delivery. In the past 15 months, my government has undertaken the following to boost the morale of the public service and the industrial peace in the country more broadly. These include the honoring of the Constitution and the ruling of the High Court to pay retroactive pension to our deserving public sector retirees to the tune of $75.1 million, the payment of $1.2 million in docked salaries to teachers and other public officers, the settlement of outstanding salary increases to workers at the T.A. Marichaud Community College in the sum of $10.6 million, the agreement to pay 13% increases to all government employees for the period 2023 to 2025, the agreement on fringe benefits for various categories of public sector workers, the temporary relocation of staff into rented premises, and the introduction of flexible and remote work to address health and safety problems arising out of the poor state of government buildings, the rollout of twice-monthly payment of personal emoluments to public sector workers, including statutory bodies and state-owned enterprises, the collective review of the minimum wage in the public and private sector with a view to increasing the minimum wage. This review is almost complete, and the new wages are expected to take place from January 2024. In addition, my government has recently approved the Public Service Regularization Strategic Framework and accompanying guidelines for the appointment on a definitive basis to the public service to guide the regularization of government workers, including contract workers and imanis. This phase of the regularization will commence by October the 1st, 2023. Furthermore, my government has addressed critical HR needs in the public sector to strengthen institutions and improve service delivery to our citizens. My government will continue to prioritize the reform of the public sector to restore public service integrity, improve labor relations, and treasure our most valued resource. Key initiatives will include implementation of a robust capacity building strategy, accelerating the implementation of the regularization strategy, active engagement with citizens through town halls, media briefings, and other means of communications, undertaking a comprehensive review and reforms of our current HR policies. Housing, community development, and social protection. Housing. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government has completed a comprehensive assessment of our housing needs. The results are not surprising to my government, which points to a significant deficit in both the quantity and quality of our housing stock across the length and breadth of our nation. Too many of our citizens still rely on pit latrines and do not have access to water and in-house bathroom and toilet facilities. As a caring and transformative government, our priorities are clear on the need to improve the housing and basic living conditions of our citizens. This is a major priority for my government. In this regard, my government will pursue a multifaceted strategy to address the critical issues related to housing, including A, the launch of Project 500. Project 500 is my government's flagship commitment to building 500 Grenadian-style homes across Grenada in our first term. My government has already appointed the Project 500 Steering Committee and Management Unit to plan and implement Project 500. B, the committee is tasked with ensuring Project 500 utilizes new materials and applied technology, ozone-friendly building materials, innovative building techniques, common sewer systems, rainwater harvesting, solar energy, smart agriculture, and designated model farming areas, promoting all-inclusive community development, homeowners association, common laundry and shopping facilities, multi-purpose indoor sporting and cultural facilities, and outdoor recreational parks. The deployment of water, sanitation, and hygiene, or WASH program, a signature partnership between government, NGOs, private businesses, donors, community groups, and volunteers. It aims to provide households facing financial challenges in Grenada with access to clean running water and adequate sanitation facilities. My government's aim through the WASH program is to eliminate open defecation and pit latrine use as far as possible by the end of 2027, to ensure that all homes have access to indoor water and bathrooms, thereby improving living conditions and promoting the overall well-being of all citizens in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. D, the pilot for the WASH program will be launched on the 30th of September 2023 in the community of Belle Isle, St. David, where 52 homes will be targeted over the next 12 weeks to be outfitted with indoor water and bathrooms. This pilot will be replicated in communities across all of Grenada during my government's first term in office. Community development. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, in the area of community development, the focus will be on building knowledge-driven and people-centered communities. Key initiatives will include sports clubs, self-help activities, beautification projects, care groups, skills training, anti-drug and alcohol programs, and parenting programs. Support for the education, enhancement, and development. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, the support for education, empowerment, and development, the SEED program, is being refined through beneficiary reassessment and a new assessment tool. Furthermore, my government will commence the issuance of SEED benefit cards for more efficient and dignified benefit distribution. The National Insurance Scheme. My government is actively pursuing strategies to improve the social security landscape, with the national insurance scheme being at the center. In this context, several critical legislative changes have been made and are in the pipeline to enhance our social security system, in introducing a permanent employment insurance benefit program, improving the self-employed persons regulations, and enhancing the national insurance claims and payment system. Gender equality. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reaffirms its commitment to the national gender equality. Key initiatives will include increased support for Cedars Home, a coordinated response to gender-based violence, training, and various projects to promote gender equality. My government aims to continue mainstreaming gender and will establish a men's bureau to advance gender equality and social transformation. Added to that, my government will pursue the full rollout of a gender-responsive budgeting in the 2024 budget, cognizant of the differential impacts of policies and initiatives on men, women, and children. Economic growth and job creation. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government has been credited for managing the domestic economy well, with the economy on track to expand by more than 5% this year and other macroeconomic indicators showing signs of strengthening. Undoubtedly, our policies have been growth-friendly and inclusive, demonstrating our strong commitment to fostering growth, job creation, and shielding the population from negative externalities. From the removal of VAT on some 19 essential foods and other basic necessities, to the temporary removal of the petrol tax, to the provision of an electricity subsidy for our less fortunate, these measures are testament to the responsiveness of my government to the challenges facing our citizens. My government's interventions in various sectors has served to boost economic activity and employment. Looking ahead, the macroeconomic outlook is favorable despite an uncertain global economic environment. Through our policies and interventions in existing and emerging sectors, such as the cannabis industry and the creative economy, my government is confident that economic growth will be robust and sustainable jobs will be created, especially for young people who are entering the job market. Some of the key highlights of major drivers of economic growth and job creation include tourism. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, the rebound of the tourism sector is the driving force behind our recent economic expansion and job creation. My government will continue to prioritize the transformation of our tourism sector by creating more opportunities, investment, and training and support to the industry. We believe that our policies have boosted investor confidence and will redound to the benefit of our nation and people. My government has resolved several issues in the sector created by the last administration. Permit me to mention one such major issue. The Kawana Bay arbitration dispute was clearly a lose-lose situation, regardless of who prevailed at the International Center for Investment Dispute. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, you would recall that upon assuming office, Grenada faced an arbitration claim in excess of $100 million from the developers of the Kawana Bay project. The site was closed and abandoned with no work taking place. My government, within the first 15 months in office, have been able to settle the matter amicably by the acquisition of the site and the developer's withdrawal and discontinuance of the arbitration claim against Grenada at a cost of US $22 million, thus saving Grenada tens of millions of dollars in potential damages should we have lost the arbitration dispute. The amicable settlement of this dispute has paved the way for my government to accelerate the development of one of our most picturesque locations on Grandance Beach. In this regard, my government is pleased to announce that we are in advanced negotiations with a new development to lease the site for the construction of a 5-star hotel, and we anticipate that actual construction shall commence in the latter part of 2024. The creative economy. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, recognizing the significant potential of the creative sector to economic growth and transformation, job creation, and youth empowerment, my government is actively pursuing a deliberate strategy to build out this new and exciting economic stream. To this end, my government has already begun to engage and will continue to harness the creative energies of our creative citizens. In May of 2023, after launching the Office of Creative Affairs, we hosted the very first Creative Economy Symposium to promote the creative economy as a transformative vehicle for sustainable development. This symposium sought to leverage the importance of the creative economy by raising awareness about its potential and challenges, exchanging ideas and experiences, and inspiring synergies and collaborations. The symposium has allowed my government to launch the work in mapping the sector and developing the national cultural and creative industry policy and strategy. Additionally, our local creatives are now able to receive and enjoy 100% duty-free concessions on imported gear and/or equipment. By the end of 2023, my government will also establish and launch the official Film Commission and the Cultural and Creative Industries Development Fund. Most worthy of mention, the Office of Creative Affairs has recently collaborated with the Ministry of Education and the T.A. Marichaud Community College to offer specialized courses in entertainment law and introduction to entrepreneurship for creative industries. In this session of Parliament, my government will continue its strategic investment in this sector. Micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, a thriving micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise sector is the backbone of our nation's economy, contributing to economic activity, jobs, and innovation. When my government assumed office, we inherited a poorly implemented COVID-19 economic support program. My government moved quickly to reimagine the CES program, focusing on providing targeted financial support to MSMEs in all sectors, but particularly in the agriculture and fishing sector, positively impacted hundreds of beneficiaries. Added to that, my government extended the micro, small, and medium enterprises concession regime, which remains in effect up to this day, targeting new MSME startups and the expansion of existing ones. My government will continue to prioritize support to MSMEs to create the enabling environment wherein these enterprises can play their part in the transformative development of our nation. Support to MSMEs will include financial, access to markets, incentives and entrepreneurship training, and hand-holding support. Physical infrastructure. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, a robust physical infrastructure is a necessary condition for economic transformation. Adequate and efficient infrastructure supports job creation and productivity, facilitates trade and business activities, and improves other sectors such as education, healthcare, and the environment. Regrettably, our infrastructure development has not kept pace with the evolving needs of our nation. Our roads and bridges are inadequate and poorly maintained. Some of our state buildings are in a state of disrepair. Our physical development has been haphazard. Fortunately, my government is committed to construction, rehabilitation, and maintenance of critical physical infrastructure through public-private partnerships to address the physical development deficit facing our nation, while simultaneously stimulating economic activities and creating hundreds of jobs. Some of the major strategic physical infrastructure projects include: 1. The World Bank-supported Grenada Resilience Infrastructure Project, of which a key component is the reconstruction of the Balthazar Bridge in St. Andrew. 2. The rebuilding of the Clifton Woburn Road and the widening of the Woodlands roundabout. 3. Addressing flooding programs in South St. George and Grenville areas. 4. Completing the Molyneux Landslip project. And 5th, the systematic rehabilitation and renewal of state buildings. Digital infrastructure. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reaffirms its commitment to the development of a robust ICT and digital economy to keep Grenada abreast with the rest of the region and indeed the world in the conduct and ease of doing business. To this end, significant progress has already been made in advancing this agenda, including expanding broadband access, strengthening data protection, implementing programs to bridge the digital divide, including the JUMP program, which targets underserved communities and children, enhancing digital literacy and providing training for digital job opportunities, including in such areas as coding and multimedia. Looking ahead, my government will continue to invest heavily in building a robust digital economy, focusing on data protection and cybersecurity, education and training, digital inclusion, e-government, and job creation. Some specific interventions include: 1. The rollout of the initial phase of the new tax system, GTax, in the first quarter of 2024, focusing on value-added tax, personal income tax, and corporate income tax installments. Registered taxpayers for these categories of taxes will be able to conveniently file and pay their taxes through a web-based platform, eliminating the need for physical visits, thereby enhancing the taxpayer experience. 2. Continuing to work with our internet service providers to establish a network of free wireless access points in every community, school, government office, tourism site, and recreational park. 3. The expansion of education and training in coding and other critical IT skills. And 4th, the digitization of our passport and immigration services to include online payment for services, and the introduction of online embarkment and disembarkment cards at the Maurice Bishop International Airport. The blue economy. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, My government has long recognized the tremendous potential of the blue economy to broaden, diversify, and generate sustainable economic growth for Grenada. The blue economy encompasses a vital array of interconnected and mutually reinforcing industries, including fisheries, shipping, marine tourism, among others. My government reaffirms its unwavering commitment to harness the blue economy, including to position our nation as a processing center for fish exports destined to key international markets. Moreover, we will continue to explore potential opportunities in areas such as aquaculture, waste disposal, marine biotechnology, ocean renewable energy, coral farming, sustainable fisheries, bioprospecting, and marine ecotourism, among others. Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, my government reiterates its commitment to transform our sister isles into vibrant and thriving economic centers, including tapping into their unique positioning to create unique advancements in the fishing and marine industries. As a government, we can boast of notable achievements in advancing our economic and social agenda on Carriacou and Petit Martinique in just under 15 months. These include: 1. Completion of preparatory work for a smart mini complex to house the ministry to enhance service delivery. 2. Customer service training in collaboration with the Grenada Tourism Authority. 3. Human resource training in emergency communication, community emergency response, and information management. 4. Upgrades and reconstruction of fisheries and agriculture infrastructure, including work on the Windward Fish Market, the Bel Air Nursery Building, and the Limlair Livestock Station Building. 5th, restoration of veterinary services and increased agricultural support to farmers. 6th, infrastructure development, including road improvements and construction of new roads, including work on the main roadway to the Princess Royal Hospital. 7th, enhancement in youth, sports and culture and community development, including upgrading of the Hillsborough Tennis Court and the construction of a turf cricket pitch in Petit Martinique. And 8th, social development initiatives, including housing repairs and medical assistance. For 2024, the strategic priorities for the continued transformation of Carriacou and Petit Martinique include: 1. Commencement of construction works on the smart ministerial complex. 2. Continuation of staff regularization and training. 3. Construction of a commuters building and jetty in Hillsborough to facilitate the movement of people to and from Carriacou. 4th, ongoing infrastructure development, especially the Bel Air Main Road and Petit Martinique Enhancement Project. 5th, focus on agriculture, including fish market completion, jetty construction, and livestock management. 6th, review and reestablishment of the marine protected area management. 7th, youth skills development programs and structured housing support mechanism. 8th, construction of a sporting and cultural center and tennis court. And 9th, repairs and construction of perimeter protection for playing fields and community development projects. Legislative agenda. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, finally allowed me to touch on the legislative agenda for this session of Parliament. Of necessity, my government will pursue an ambitious legislative agenda to support our nation's transformative development. In the past 15 months, we have taken to Parliament several pieces of critical legislation, including amendments to the National Insurance Act to, inter alia, introduce a permanent unemployment insurance program to strengthen our social security system, the Disaster Management Act to enhance disaster and climate resilience, regulation on electricity generation, expansion planning, and competitive procurement to support a greener and low-carbon economy, to name a few. My government wishes to place on record its commendation to the Attorney General and her staff for their tremendous work in advancing our legislative agenda. The priorities for this session of Parliament will include the Energy Efficiency Act, the Fiscal Resilience Act, the Labor Code, or the Employment Act and Labor Code Amendment Bill, the Mental Health Bill, the Film Commission Bill, the Freedom of Information Bill, the Firearms Act, and the Crown Lands Act, to name a few. Conclusion. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, to whom much is given, much is expected. The people of Grenada have given us a strong mandate to transform Grenada. We have embraced this mandate wholeheartedly and have made remarkable progress in a very short period. By working together with diligence and unwavering resolve, we can realize a better Grenada for all. In this context, my government reaffirms its theme for this session of Parliament as Forward to 50, reflecting on our past, solidifying our future. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, in closing, I wish to draw our attention, both individually and as a nation, to the inspiring words contained in Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Let us rise to the challenge before us and seize the opportunities that lie ahead for a better future. It is therefore my distinct pleasure to declare the second session of the 11th Parliament open. Thank you, and may God continue to bless us all.
Be it resolved that the Honourable Houses of Parliament record their thanks for the gracious address delivered today to the Houses by Her Excellency the Governor-General. Be it further resolved that debate on the address be deferred to a date to be named.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to second the motion.
Madam President, I wish to associate the Senate with the sentiments of the motion. Madam President, I second the motion made by the Leader of Government Business in the Senate.
Honourable members of the House of Representatives, the question is that this Honourable House of Parliament record the thanks for the gracious address delivered today to the Houses by Her Excellency the Governor-General. Be it further resolved that the debate on the address be deferred to a date to be named. All those who have that opinion, say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion, say no. The ayes have it.
The question is that the Honorable Houses of Parliament record their thanks for the gracious address delivered today to the Houses by Her Excellency the Governor-General. Be it further resolved that the debate on the address be deferred to a date to be named. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those of the opposing view say nay. Well, the ayes have it.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just wish, with your leave and the President's leave, to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, who is with us this morning. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the adjournment of the House's sine die.
Mr. Speaker, I second that motion.
Madam President, Mr. Speaker, I wish to associate the Senate with the sentiments of the motion.
Madam President, I second the motion made by Honorable Leader of Government Business in the Senate.
Honorable members of the House of Representatives, the question is that this House be adjourned sine die. All those who have that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Thank you. Honorable members of the Senate, the question is that the Houses be adjourned sine die. All those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary view say nay. The ayes have it. The Houses are adjourned.
And so, friends, we have just borne witness to the ceremonial state opening of the second session of the 11th Parliament of Grenada. We have listened to the throne speech as articulated by our Governor General, and the Parliament now stands adjourned sine die, meaning without a date for resumption.
Yes, and as they call it, the most gracious speech to both houses of Parliament. As usual, the Governor General was very articulate. She was well poised, she was calm, and she delivered a really good speech. It covered a number of areas, and it started with the key initiatives that government will implement for the 50th anniversary of independence. Yes. And important to note would be the issuance of the commemorative EC $50 note. Yes. Now, I hope I get my hands on one of those commemorative notes, because it would be something to treasure as a part of history. Something that you can hold. Don't spend it, but we can hold it somewhere that we can always look back and be, this was something that we produced during the year of our 50th anniversary.
But it is legal tender.
It is.
You can't spend it.
Of course, definitely.
It is legal tender.
And important also was the announcement of the public holiday for the 19th of October that we discussed. Yes. So this, and then there would also be for the first time ever, Grenada would have the naming and celebration of a national heroes. Yes. And I remember in a press conference the Prime Minister had recently, he spoke about creating a National Heroes Park. Yes. So a lot of these things are coming into play, and we need to understand that when we have the throne speech, it is sometimes known, or it is sometimes considered as the new fiscal or parliamentary year speech. Yes. So it sets the tone, because we know we are in the month of September. Yes. And usually around November, December, we would have the budget speech. The budget speech. Yes. So the throne speech would be a sort of precursor, yes. A preamble to the budget speech. So a lot mentioned in the throne speech talked about some of the accomplishments of government, their plans going forward, some of the disappointments. We talked about the oil and gas issue. Indeed. And I hope that when we get the Prime Minister in here, we can ask him, because he spoke about a committee being formed, headed by former Finance Minister Nazim Burke, that would look into this issue to figure out, well, what's going on? What has happened and where are we now? Yes. It is worth looking into.
It is, and the theme, Forward into 50, reflecting on our past, solidifying our future. Yes. And I, right at the beginning of the speech, as you said, a precursor to what we will see in the budget later, the Governor General did mention the priorities for this session of Parliament. That's this new session of Parliament. Yes. Mm-hmm. And number one, it was citizen safety and national security. Number two, education and skills development. 3, youth empowerment. We have health and wellness, agriculture, food and nutrition security. Yes. We're talking about energy transition and environmental sustainability, foreign policy and trade, restoring the public service integrity, maintaining industrial peace, housing and community development, economic growth and job creation, the creative industry that we heard so much about, of course, physical and digital infrastructure, and of course the blue economy. And in the blue economy, if we followed, a lot of Carriacou and Petit Martinique was highlighted in there with a number of things that are going on. And so this is setting the stage for what we can look forward to going forward. And a lot of it would have been mentioned too in the legislative agenda of the government as we go forward in with this second session of the Parliament.
Definitely. And a lot was mentioned too as to what was accomplished, especially under the Ministry of Education. I know as we began the new school term, a lot was talked about then, because a lot has been implemented by the government. The removal of registration fees at the pre-primary, primary, secondary, tertiary levels, and so really removing that financial barrier to education. Government anticipated that a lot more students would be enrolled in the TAM-CC and the New Life organization, NULO, and so because they no longer have that issue of how mommy and daddy is going to pay. Right. How are we going to afford this? I really wish that this was in my time so that we can take full advantage of the opportunities. But now our generation nation now has that type of an opportunity, and of course they're taking full advantage of that. Subventions to schools and other educational institutions to cover operational costs. Now people were asking, if we remove that fee that helps the schools to survive, how are they going to survive? Now government is going to provide that type of provision. And some schools, I remember there was an interview with the marketing manager of NULO, and she mentioned that this is actually a good thing, because what happened at NULO, which was also explained by the registrar of TAMCC, is that students were always in the owing bracket.
Yes.
They're always coming to find out, how am I going to be able to get a payment plan? There were a number of students that were always owing, and so. And they said that this new system where parents would not have to worry about the tuition costs, and so it now gives the school more breathing ground, that they can collect the subventions from government owing to them for the students there, and they can use that money to do other things. We might just see the expansion of NULO very soon, or the addition at TAMCC, and this is the type of development.
Well, we're already seeing, yes, because we've already seeing that the creative sector has 2 new courses that are available at TAMCC and so on. So we expect that is going to grow indeed. And of note, we spoke about health, and I have here some of the key achievements in the past year. You know, we've purchased the 83.9 acres of land in Calavini, right, which will be the site for the construction and operation of Grenada's climate smart new teaching hospital project. And that project is going to allow the likes of SGU to now have add a teaching capacity at the hospital, which would mean that some of our students who are only here for 2 years may spend another year or 2, doing their internships and so on. So it augurs well for the economy of the area.
And it ensures that we have a full staff of doctors and specialists. So whenever government comes up with these types of projects, it's not just to say we did this, we did that, but there is a whole vision involved for something greater. Exactly. So we also have to look at the bigger picture. Government wants to ensure that there is proper health systems, health facilities, access to healthcare for everyone, and this is just one step in.
Well, of course, and and the impact it's going to have on the diaspora, people in the diaspora who want to come home and contribute, because they're concerned about health, especially as they you start to age, and the strengthening of the human resource capacity through the hiring of additional health professionals and improving employment conditions. I recently heard the Minister of Health say we just hired 8 new doctors, and in January of 2024 another 8 are going to be added to the staff at the General Hospital, along with nurses. So that is happening. You have the introduction of CT scan services, the commencement of hemodialysis and perinatal dialysis services at the General Hospital. All of this has been achieved. The commissioning of a new accident and emergency unit in November of 2022. Operational, yes. The refurbishment of 5 theaters at the General Hospital to international standards. I remember there was a time when they were having some issues with the air conditioning units and all of that. Elevators and so on. All of that seems to have been dealt with. And so we're just reporting on what has been done according to what the throne speech. The completion of a new modern pharmacy department at the Phase 2 building of the General Hospital, the enhancement of primary health care through the launch of primary health care teams, and the upgrading of several health centers and medical stations, including Hillsborough Smart Health Center, Victoria Medical Station, the Princess Royal and Princess Alice Hospitals, and the Wester Hall and Good Hope Medical Stations. And now we have the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the McKinney Foundation, headed by its director, Dr. Timothy McKinney, a graduate of St. George's University, to promote women's health and provide free gynecological and urological health care treatments and services to Grenada. These have been signed. So friends, this government seems to have its act together and is working hard to ensure that health facilities and so on are improved across the nation. And And all of that is reflected in the speech that we just heard. And of course, there are other areas that we're going to highlight as we continue this broadcast. With us, we have our Minister of Finance.
Yes.
Yes, who is joining us at the table. Minister Dennis Cornwall.
Welcome, Minister Cornwall.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And welcome to our GIS broadcast team, where we're just discussing some of the happenings from the throne speech as just delivered by Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade. You were inside the room, you sat across the table from your peers in Parliament, and so what are your initial reactions from her presentation?
Well, I think the throne speech was a well-delivered speech. In the speech itself, there are a number of issues that were highlighted, dealing with the achievements of the administration in the last 14 months. It also put forward some of the things that my government is going to be delivering during 2024 and beyond. I think the stage is set for takeoff in terms of what is expected of this current administration in terms of meeting the needs of our Grenadians. I know there are times that we think that the administration is only looking at certain sections of the population, but we are here to say to you now that everyone will have a stake in this upcoming budget, and the throne speech has set the pace for that, I can tell you, based on what is anticipated to be in the 2024 budget.
I see too, Minister, that I see some specific interventions which include the rollout of the initial phase of the new tax system, GTax. Yes, in the first quarter of 2024. You might want to tell us a little bit more about that, and focusing on value-added tax and personal income tax and so on, corporate tax.
Well, you may recall that in earlier parts of the year we talked about, first of all, implementing the amnesty that we want to make sure that our tax-paying population adhere to, and to also make sure that they have their records straight, and even some of them come clean with their tax and so on. That is in train, and we are hoping that once that is completed, the new tax system that they mark for 2024 would be kicked off. As we speak, I don't want to jump the gun to say that there will be any new taxes on board, but I would tell you that the traditional environmental levy, the income tax, company tax, as well as VAT would all be there as part of the tax for 2024. We have made some enhancements in those areas, and we are going to continue enhancing the tax base so that we can collect our fair share of revenue, so that we can do the business of government as we continue to build this nation. I wouldn't want to see that there's any downside to what we are talking about right now, because as we speak, all seems to be in train to have a successful 2023 regarding our revenue collections, and we look forward to a good collection of revenue in 2024.
And I see that it's all going online, so that you can now pay, or you don't have to be going into the ministry and so on to make these payments. You can sit in your office and at the tap of a button on your computer remit your payments, and so to the tax man, so to speak.
Yes, well, digitalization is a key aspect of the new tax system that is going to be on. We were concerned about the long lines that we've seen in front of the Treasury to pay tax or even collect a check and so on, and we believe that we can do better than that. So as you would have heard in the throne speech for the seed program, we'll basically be creating a card that the beneficiaries would be able to use to at least access the monies, as well as in the past you would have actually had to visit physically the Inland Revenue Department and Customs to pay your tax. We are saying that we are affording our population the enhanced system whereby you can pay your tax from anywhere. When I said anywhere, I mean anywhere. For example, currently, if you want a birth certificate, you have to travel all the way from St. Patrick to St. George's to get that done. And in fact, when you get to St. George, you realize that you have to go to 2 different locations to pay $7. Yes. So while it might mean $7 in St. George's for a birth certificate, it might mean $27 for somebody who's coming from Riverside or even Montrose or even some parts of St. Mark's and St. John. So we are trying to make sure that we can improve on those things because, I mean, the technology exists. The wherewithal is there to do it. The commitment is there to do it, and we believe that we can get it done in 2024.
Mr. Connell, before we release you, the CES program, the COVID-19 Economic Support Program, during the throne speech, Her Excellency would have mentioned that this program was not used to its fullest potential under the last regime, but government came in with a plan and they refocused the program, and a lot of MSMEs were able to benefit from this. And so, can you tell us for now if we can see a further, I don't know, probably extension of this program where more persons can benefit, or some other like initiative in the future?
Well, let me say that the funds that were used to at least provide financing for most of our entrepreneurs or young persons who wanted to get into business or are in business came from a loan that we got from the Caribbean Development Bank. Also, government would have put in some local funding into the program. Notwithstanding that, when we assumed office in June 2022, we found a balance of almost just 15 million thereabout in place. And we basically make it available to persons who we think would have made good use of it. And although we were able to utilize the entire amount of funding, we benefited about just over 500 persons. I must say to you that there were demands of over 6,000 persons asking for that same funding, which means that we were not in a position to give everybody. And I believe that that has created some annoyance from some persons. But I believe that something like that could happen in the future, provided that we can get additional funding from donor agencies or lending agencies and so on. That would be soft loan types that will allow personnel to at least get that. But I can't tell you as we speak that is just around the corner. We have to basically find the monies from an institution where we can basically continue such a program. But for now, I do not want to jump the gun and speak ahead of time, but we believe that whatever we did under the CES program in 2022 would have been in a positive direction, and we're hoping that we can do such going forward.
Thank you, Minister Cornwall, for your reactions.
Yes.
And all the best as you move into your new budget year, soon approaching. And I know as the man that carries the country's purse, it is a heavy weight on you, sir, but we know that you are well equipped and ready to do so for us. So thank you.
Certainly, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you. So we would now speak to Senator Gaetan Lacrette, Minister for Health, so that we can get his reactions as well, because a number of initiatives were explained this morning as to some of the achievements under his leadership. And we certainly want to dig a bit deeper to see where we are, especially as it relates to the 80 plus
83.9 acres.
To be exact, acres that has been accumulated, where Grenadians would now see our new teaching hospital. And it's not just a new teaching hospital, we're talking about energy efficient and all these things, state of the art, climate smart. I mean, we're talking about a really good initiative, a really good investment. So welcome, Senator.
Thank you very much for having me.
So tell us a bit about this acreage of land. Where are we now?
Well, whenever you're talking about health sector modernization, you have to talk about a brand new climate smart, climate resilient teaching hospital, especially as it relates to the improvement of services in the clinical industry. So I believe that we are in the final stages of negotiations and thereafter payment so that we can move forward with our plans. I believe that the country will see at least the construction of the first phase during this term of the brand new climate smart, climate resilient hospital. hospital. So that's where I'll leave that conversation for now until a general announcement is made through press briefing.
We know the Ministry of Health and persons viewing online and at home can talk about the numerous issues that the health system face, and some of it really relates to, it boils down really to sometimes customer service, correct, customer expectations, and that kind of a thing. I know government is really keen since they came into office to address the issues of our staffing with our nurses and health aides and all that kind of a thing. Where are we now as it relates to retaining our nurses, keeping our professionals, and ensuring that we have enough professionals available to take on the needs of the country?
Well, clinicians, medical practitioners do have a standard operating procedure by which that dictates the behavioral pattern of the entire health sector. And I was saying to someone yesterday, you know what, even as the policymaker, I can't teach someone how to be nice. That comes, and that's the truth, it comes intrinsically from how you have been cultured or brought up. You know, I cannot teach you how to be cordial and how to smile, etc. But though the profession dictates a particular behavior, even though you do a number of customer service training, I can't tell as the policymaker tomorrow if the doctor or the nurse gets up and decides to have a behavior or an attitude that is not befitting to the profession. Who's to blame?
Exactly.
Yeah, who's to blame? However, our training budget as a health sector is definitely going to be a huge one for 2024 because we desire to do training across the entire sector. So ambulance drivers, orderlies, housekeeping staff, nurses, doctors, district medical officers, etc. Across the entire health spectrum, we will see even the administrators at the complex itself. They have already been engaged in leadership and management training this year at least twice with various cohorts of persons across the health sector in the leadership and management positions. So I'm excited about the training agenda. I'm also excited about developing the HR capacity of the entire sector. Currently we have 339 staff nurses, 177 nursing assistants, and we definitely have to see how we can bring those nursing assistants up to BSN level, because a number of them, they have expressed a desire to move up academically to the BSN level. And with that being said, there's going to be a gap for nursing assistants, so you don't have to train a new cadre of nursing assistants or healthcare assistants as they are called in other quarters of the world. So there is a plan to do so, whether we have to offer scholarships to them, full out scholarships to them. We definitely will have to take a bold step financially as a government to say, you know what, this is a need, this is where the hemorrhaging is taking place, and as a result we are investing in Grenada's future, rebuilding back the nursing stock of the country, and also with our medical doctors as well. I know that the medical director has flagged that we also need training for our medical doctors, especially those who want to specialize in various areas. So we may have to have them one at a time move out to train and come back. You know, it may take them a year and a half, etc. But it's a risk that we have to take, because for generations to come, we want to be able to build the kind of healthcare sector that we want to see in Grenada from a sustainable perspective, with a sustainable model, economically as well as financially. Yes.
Senator, before you move out, we must get a comment from you on national health insurance. Mm-hmm. Where are we with that, and how are we moving forward?
Right. So we are still in the negotiation phase of the national health insurance model that we want to see roll out for Grenada. We have engaged a consultant, and we are in the process. So I'll leave that there for now with a period until we have another press conference where the nation will be apprised as to how we're moving forward with NHI. But we have begun the process, and we're very pleased that the process is rolling out smoothly at this time.
Well, thank you very much.
Was that all your questions?
I wanted to ask you, but no, just quickly on the McKinney, the memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
Right. And what is happening with that?
Yes, we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the McKinney Foundation, who is poised to provide gynecological as well as obstetric services, free gynecological and obstetric services to the women of Grenada. It will be launched soon, before the end of October, because we are in the final stages of ensuring that Dr. McKinney is well set up with his licensing and etc. before he opens the clinic, and we have an official launch, and we let the general public know, well, the women know when when they can schedule appointments, etc. Yeah.
That's very good news.
And we're also looking at, Randall, revitalizing our oncology program, seeing that cancer right now is the #1 cause of death in Grenada. Yes, we had to convene a meeting last week with all my medical team, administrative staff, to ensure that we revitalize our oncology program. So some good news, oncology is coming very soon. And you may hear that roll out in the budget speech.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much.
Definitely a lot happening there within the health sector. We would now take a moment to engage Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, to get some of his reactions to today's throne speech. Definitely we have a few questions to come his way, and as he approached the table, the hot seat, no, not really. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I think it's now lunchtime.
Yes, it's about lunchtime, 3 minutes past the hour of 12. So the second session of the 11th Parliament, I know sometimes these types of sessions with the throne speech is considered a preamble to budget. It's setting a tone as to what would come without letting too many cats out the bag and too many secrets and so on. But a lot has been mentioned in the throne speech as delivered by Her Excellency. The oil and gas issue, she mentioned that a committee has been set up,
yes,
led by former Finance Minister Mr. Nazim Buck. Tell us a bit about this committee and where are we at the moment?
Right, so the committee was constituted by Cabinet. It includes Mr. Nazim Buck, who's a former Finance Minister and Minister for Energy, so he's going to be the chair. We also have a number of other distinguished Canadians who are on the committee. Mr. Richard Duncan, former Accountant General, former Chief Executive Officer of Grenada Cooperative Bank, and he's now an advisor to the government in the Ministry for Finance. We also have Mr. Raymond Nuss. Mr. Raymond Nuss is a Grenadian in the diaspora, specifically in Germany. He is a renowned geologist, so he's also on the committee. We have Mr. Rodney George. Mr. Rodney George is an electrical engineer by profession. He is currently chairman of Grenelec as well as chairman of GIDC, and he's also an advisor to the government in the Ministry for Infrastructure as well as renewable energy. So we also have the Office of the Attorney General represented by the Solicitor General. That's the current composition. The wider committee also includes has room for representatives from the renewable energy space as well as from social and civil society. The committee was set up because, as the throne speech indicated, we have not had any information whatsoever from anybody pertaining to Grenada's oil and gas. There's been no file left, no transition report submitted, and so we've been left on our own essentially to gather bits and pieces of information from every source. But we are committed to ensuring that we fully explore this issue and that we can come back and report to the public as to where we are. So the committee is now starting its work. Okay. In fact, we have a meeting scheduled promptly at 10 a.m. tomorrow with the representatives of GPG as an initial start. So I think after that meeting, it will give us an opportunity to assess, assuming it is a frank and productive meeting, to assess where we are and then be able to report back to the nation. But I think I want to emphasize here the utter disappointment, and that's probably a mild way of putting it, with the fact that something as important and as nationalistic in its ultimate impact on the country, and perhaps even the region, could have been operated and run in a secret society manner. That's as much as I would say at this point in time, because we cannot have a situation where important national assets or interests or points of interest simply, when a government changes, either disappears or is not made readily available. And as an incoming government, we should not have to be fighting to find out where the file is, to be conducting information on basic information. So that is part of the task, obviously, of the technical working group. I mean, they're going to be given the full authority, obviously, to hire consultants, lawyers, etc., to make sure that we can get to the bottom of this and that we can move this matter forward as quickly as we can.
And I've noticed, Prime Minister, that you have quite an ambitious program for the second Parliament. I've noticed 13 areas with child safety and so on. I know you have been on about this recent speech speed of gun crimes and violence in Grenada. Perhaps you might want to speak a little bit more about that.
Sure. Well, you notice it's one of the first, if not the first, issue we talked about, because at the end of the day, if we don't have a safe and peaceful society, the rest of it doesn't really matter. And I want to stress, outside of the gun-related violence, that crime actually has been trending down. So it is really the specific issues of the homicides arising from the use of firearms, and that's why I've been very clear that firearms are inherently dangerous, and it's not something that we should encourage as a culture. The Throne speech spelled out a number of measures we intend to take to strengthen the RGPF, including strengthening community policing, to ensuring that we have CCTV cameras available for covering public spaces, hotspots, areas that otherwise might be difficult to patrol all the time with manpower, so that we can have as much public coverage and surveillance as possible to keep our nation safe, and to make sure that if we do ever capture any intel or data or photographs that could be used in the detection and prevention of crime, that we can do so. But it's also important for us to make sure that we develop a society where people are not encouraged to become criminals, either intentionally or not, because oftentimes we sometimes criminalize behavior that simply requires some social intervention. So one of the key things we have to ensure is that our young men in particular, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, that we speak to them, that we see them as human beings, and we try and address the issues they face, rather than simply sending them to Bacolite at the first sign of oftentimes what is normal teenage issues. So that's one of the key things that I think we need to stress. We cannot marginalize our citizens and expect them not to become disenfranchised or not to engage in antisocial behavior. So it's very important that at the school levels and at the community levels that we can engage with them, that we have things for them to do, that we make them feel a part of society, and that we can uplift them. And I think a lot of the interventions will have to be at that level rather than just at the policing level, because if it gets to the policing level, usually it's too late. But we also think it's important for us to learn how to resolve conflicts. So one of the things we've been discussing with the police management is the need to have police officers themselves trained as mediators, so that they can help sometimes communities who are in disputes to be able to mediate and talk through those issues, because sometimes you have communities disliking communities, sometimes you have families disliking families, and oftentimes you have within a family disputes that oftentimes spills over into some sort of unfortunate incident or violent incident. We also intend to approach the Grenada Mediation Association. As you know, Grenada has within its civil jurisdiction a court-connected mediation process with a number of trained mediators who generally would treat with disputes that are in the court system. But we're going to be reaching out to them to see how we can get them to help us, in fact, expand their services to also include community issues, community disputes, before they get to either a civil dispute or even a policing matter, because we think certainly the mediation system within the court system has worked a lot. The last stats I had is that 2 out of every 3 matters that went to mediation were resolved at mediation, because people have a sense of ownership. And so within our communities, we want to be able to encourage that same sort of thing. We're building and repairing our community centers. We need to be able to make use of that. So if you have issues within our communities, people can go there, speak about them in a confidential matter, have someone help them find out what the real issues are and try and work out a plan to resolve it. Having said that, though, it is clear that we are vulnerable to firearms coming into Grenada. And we have to make sure that we beef up our ability to gather intelligence to detect and prevent the firearms from coming in, as well as ensure that our partners, particularly in the United States, redouble their efforts to make sure that the firearms don't leave their shores and end up in Grenada. So working together, cooperating with our partners regionally and internationally will be key to make sure we minimize the amount of firearms that actually comes to our island.
Prime Minister, under your portfolio, which is many, you serve also as Minister for Public Administration, and the Throne speech would have listed a number of initiatives taken to boost morale of staff and so on. It included the payment of retroactive pensions, 1.2 million for docked salaries, the settlement of outstanding salary for TAMCC, and a host of other things. I know that this is an ongoing process, and this is not where it started and ended. What else is government contemplating as they consider the The boosting of the public service, the restoration of the public service, really.
Well, there's actually a press conference tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the NADMA building. It will be chaired by the PS in the Department of Public Administration. And the press conference will, in fact, be addressing the start of government's regularization process. As you know, we champion the need to try and minimize the varying, divergent types of employment that you have within the public service, especially in circumstances where people are doing the same jobs, but are working for vastly different pay or vastly different terms and conditions. Now, this is a very complex matter, but we are committed to tackling it. So the anticipation is that the first phase of the regularization commences from October. It should really have already commenced into December. That phase will look at, there are lots of persons who have acting positions. It's like Hollywood. They act forever for a long period in their posts. And our approach has always been is either the person can do the job or they can't. And if they can't, you're better off being honest with them to say you cannot do the job and let someone else get an opportunity. So it will address first those persons who are in acting positions to go through the process of either confirming them or indicating to them what they need to do to be confirmed or getting them an opportunity to do something else. So we anticipate that phase of it, and I think there are quite a few people, as much as maybe 200 plus persons who are in that position. The idea then is to have the confirmations take place between now and December. We're going to be working with the Public Service Commission because of the sheer numbers to make sure that special time is given to address this specific issue. What that should do is then free up space, because obviously if you're acting, it means you have your substantive position and then you're acting in another position, and so both of them are blocked. So if you are confirmed in the position that you're acting, it therefore means that you no longer have your substantive position, and that becomes available for someone to be able to move up or move across, as the case may be, into the ranks, and therefore it would allow us to be able to begin that process of the transition to where we get. The ultimate aim, obviously, is to get us into 2024, where we can address the situation with the contract workers and the Imani workers. Okay. I view to some extent both of them the same, because the Imanis are also in a sense on contracts, except that it seems that they're not treated as workers when in fact they're workers. So we have that to bear in mind, and so the idea here is obviously with established public servants, the key thing is the question of pension. You get a pension that is not funded. It is essentially paid from taxpayers' revenue at the end of the year. And so if we increase the size of the established public service too much, then we run the risk of not being in a position to fund and pay the pensions when people retire. Right. So we have to have some pension reform. We've made that clear, particularly if we are going to address the situation with the contract workers and the Imani workers. A consultant has been doing extensive work. We expect to get a report shortly, and to be in a position to begin the consultations and dialogue with everyone, sharing with them what the consultant is recommending in terms of pension reform. We hope we can get the support of the unions. The key thing here is persons who are already established public servants and have their pensions will not be affected. Right, so there's no threat or risk to them. It is really how we address the persons who are on contract and the money workers, to put them in a position where they too can get some form of pension. And that has to be a pension that both parties are contributing to. So we think once we can explain that and people understand what we're trying to do, which is to improve the situation from where they are, then we can then tackle in 2024 the next phase of the regularization, which will then be the contract and the Imani workers. But we also want to stress it's important for us to grow the private sector and to grow the economy as well, because we can't have a society where when you leave school the only thing you look forward to is a government job. That simply will not put all of us collectively in a better place. So we have to make sure that we can encourage the private sector to become robust, to grow more. That is why we are doing things like the creative economy. That is why we are keen to explore the blue economy, the orange economy, to make sure that there are additional avenues for job creation, for entrepreneurship, for business growth and economic growth in green fisheries. Agro-processing is another area we have to take a far more dedicated and strategic approach to growing those areas so that people can find employment in those sectors. Digital economy. So a lot of that is really geared towards growing the private sector so that people actually have opportunities and choices when they come out of school, to ensure that they have a career path that will allow them to take care of themselves and their family.
Prime Minister, but when we talk about the public sector reform and we talk about the regularization and so, there is the other part of customer service.
Absolutely. Well, let's put it, but it's doing business. But I think for me, and I would say this, before I ask anything of someone, I want to show to them that I'm prepared to commit myself to give. So I think we recognize there are significant challenges with public service, and I think the important thing was for us to extend the olive branch, which is why we were able to settle, I think, the union negotiations in record time, which is why we paid the 1.2, which is why we paid the pension, which is why we are addressing regularization. But we also have to appreciate that the public deserves proper, efficient, high-quality, customer-focused public servants who do their jobs, get the jobs done, and make all of us proud as Grenadians. So that aspect obviously has to be tackled. And I think the Department of Public Administration has begun that process. We've created a human resource network comprising of all of the HR members within the public service. They've been having regular meetings. We expect to have extensive training. And as I've said repeatedly, we have to highlight those areas of the public service that are doing well, find out why they're doing well, and then be able to emulate this so that we can replicate excellent service across the public service. But I think public servants themselves know that if you did a survey of the population as to how they are viewed or how we are viewed in terms of our service, we will fail. I have no illusions about that. So it means we have to do a lot to improve our public service delivery and our service standards in Grenada in general. It's not just in the public service, in the private sector as well. We have to recognize that serving someone actually is an honor, it's a privilege. We should do it with a smile. We should be happy and proud to do it because you make people happy, they come back and give you more business.
That's right. Prime Minister, before we let you go, I think Mr. Robinson had one. Yes.
I noticed that we have done some training with our new ambassadors and aids to ambassadors so that we have more people that we can deploy out there. And I've also seen the push into Africa. Yes, so.
Well, I think, I will start with Africa. We're the diaspora. That's the truth. As Grenadians, we talk about Grenadians in the diaspora, but we are Africa's diaspora. And I've said if Africa is strong, the diaspora will be strong. And so it's incumbent for us to ensure that Africa and its diaspora share common history. Slavery, colonization, new colonization, imperialism, you can go on and on. And even now, you can still see that many African countries are grappling with the effects of high unemployment, high youth unemployment, poverty, underdevelopment, and so we have to recognize, but at the same time, there are key success stories as well, and we have to recognize that. I think just the sheer nature of our culture. You look at things like Afrobeats, you look at dancehall music, calypso, steel band, the creative economy. There are natural synergies that we have with the motherland, and so it's important that both at a political and a diplomatic level, that we begin to seriously and strategically have closer diplomatic economic ties. And then at a cultural people level. A straight flight from Accra in Ghana to Barbados is probably about the same amount of time if you're flying up to New York or Canada, probably even less time if you're going to Canada, right? But because traditionally all our trading and movement of people have been north, we've never focused on developing the South-to-South cooperation. So I think, you'd see that in many African countries that became independent, there was a diaspora, a West Indian or Caribbean person involved either in the government or in the initial days of advising in many of these countries. But I think as both sides became independent, we moved further apart rather than closer. So I think there's a common understanding now, I think amongst the generation of leaders, both in Africa and in the Caribbean, and generally in the South, that the South has to work closer together in order to ensure that we can put ourselves in a position where we can foster all of the synergies and take advantage of making sure that we can both develop better together at the same time.
Well, thank you
so much, Prime Minister. Thank you for your time.
Have a great afternoon.
We are continuing the reactions with our ministers of government, and very importantly, we would like to talk about the 500 Grenadian-style homes that are going to be implemented. And so we are going to speak to our Minister for Housing, who is in the room here with us. Welcome to the head table, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here.
Yes, and thanks for the opportunity to discuss with you.
A lot of things were discussed under the throne speech, announced really by Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade, who did an excellent job in delivering, might I add. One of the things you mentioned was the 500 Grenadian-style homes that is going to be implemented soon. Talk to us a bit about that project, that initiative of government, and where are we with planning for same?
Yes, well, thank you. Indeed, we have started the process. We have already put together a committee that serves as a board of directors, so to speak, and also a project committee alongside that helps to sort of attract professionals who would serve to implement those 500 homes. We've identified some lands, and we still continue to search for lands. And so we have already started the process of getting this going. The team meets every other week, and so we have engaged a number of people to strengthen the team and to have a proper outline as to where we are going with Project 500. Now, Project 500 is seeking to first and foremost deliver 500 Grenadian-style homes that embraces new technologies into building, embraces new materials, seek to incorporate the natural use of the sun and other resources, having common sewer system that is environmentally friendly, and all of these climate smart initiatives, hurricane resistant, and all of those climate smart initiatives is going to be embraced in delivering the 500 homes. We understand that the housing stock in Grenada is pretty limited, and we have to start not just giving out some homes or building homes, but it's just a matter of building stronger and better societies and communities. And so that is what we are seeking to do. Yeah. And with that, you would see us trying to incorporate proper playing area for children, maybe even daycare facilities and common laundry facilities and all of these things. So it's really having a holistic view of how we want to live as Grenadian, just keeping a step or two ahead of what currently exists and providing that platform for us to really transition from what we know to where we really want to go as a Grenadian people. And the essence of all of this really is generational wealth transfer, owning a piece of the rock, establishing yourself as a family, and starting to really expand into self-development.
The WASH program, I know, is another major it's a significant program of government because we're addressing some of the basic needs that exist in our communities, things that we would think, we're in 2023, how come we're still here? So government is addressing some of these issues on the WASH program. What is this program really targeted for? And just explain to us as to what are the next steps of the program.
The WASH program indeed is a great vision, properly articulated, and they are just about to do a test run in the Belial community in St. David. That is seeking to bring water, indoor bathroom and toilet, and generally address the problem of poor sanitary conditions, poor sanitary living conditions that has been experienced over the years and decades, so to speak. So we tried to address those by way of this WASH program. It's a beautiful program, but one of the key elements in that is trying to embrace volunteerism and community spirit into building out bathroom and toilet facilities and bringing water and electricity to those who really need it. So it's really something that is it's a great vision. The test run is going to happen this year, very soon, and we hope to replicate it throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique.
Under your stewardship, we saw a number of initiatives being taken with NIS. Basically, it were things that they were lobbying for quite some time. But under this administration, we see them being taken seriously, and we're seeing a rollout of some of those. Let's talk about the government's intervention with NIS. Tell us a bit about how it was when you got in, and where are we now?
Well, the Prime Minister gives us his line of march, and in very simple terms, we cannot continue like this. You got to be fixed. And so we looked at the actuary's report. We considered the content thereof, and we recognized that we really and truly had to fix the legislative side of NIS, the management is okay, the board is strong, and all of that, the platform and all of that, talking about the technological platform. So NIS in itself is a strong organization, but we recognize that the political will to get things done over the years has not been strong, has not been forceful. And as a new group of politicians coming in, we recognize that if we fail with the social programs, if we fail with social security, we are actually going to fail as a government and as a nation. So we could not afford to drop the ball on this one. The NIS is close to $1 billion worth of assets.
That's right.
So it's a lot of money involved. It's going to affect the banking system in a significant way if we do not rescue what is imminent. And so we are able to make all of those legislative changes, and in the process, basically bring greater benefits to people who are beneficiaries of the NIS. And so, for example, we look at the unemployment benefits. Now that is something enshrined in law. It's your right now, but of course with conditions, because people cannot. You don't pay people to just resign the job and stay home. So of course they have to be actively seeking for a job and a number of other conditions that has to be met. But that being said, the NIS, now we have set a platform for the board and the management to really make firm decisions and take the institution forward and maintain strength and stability in the financial system.
That's right. And what I like about what NIS is doing now, they're not just addressing needs and responding and so, because like you mentioned, the employment benefit program. Yes, like you said, there are going to be some rules, and so you have to be actively looking for employment, but they're also going to retrain you, so to speak.
Yes.
So for instance, if you came in as an unemployed person in plumbing, but there are opportunities in, let's say, mechanics also, NIS would assist you in training in that area.
Yes.
And not just training to say, okay, well, we train you, so go on, find something now, but they're also going to assist you in finding placements, and so on. So it's like, it feels like you're being taken care of, really. So it's not just going and collect a check at the end of the month because I lost my job, whatever. But we're seeing a holistic development happening there. This is a new era of an NIS, if you ask me. Of course,
and there's new energies too, and we must tap into that while the engine is hot. We must tap into that and ensure that we do all the right things to ensure that we deliver that quality service to people. And there again, you have the self-employed as one of the. The non-compliance there was atrocious, but now the NIS is saying you can make one payment per year if you so wish.
That's right.
And you determine what benefits you want to get from NIS, and you can pay. So so all those things are very important, because it helps to sort of encourage and motivate people to want to participate in this thing. So even if you are self-employed and you get sick, you can get sickness benefit,
yes,
right? Exactly. And so it's no longer marginalizing you because you're self-employed. It is opening up the NIS so that all and sundry can benefit. But of course, we must be disciplined. We must be willing to make our contributions and be faithful. You're not required no longer as a self-employed person to make your contribution every single month, but you must make your contribution must be sufficient to cover what we termed at least the minimum contribution on an annual basis.
Definitely.
And you pay as you earn, as you get it, you can pay into the NIS.
That's right. That's right.
And Minister Seed, I see that there's a new assessment tool, so perhaps you could give us a little bit more information on that.
Well, the assessment tool is going to be rolled out soon. but it must go through the testing phase to ensure that it really meets the criteria and meet what the government wants it to do. Because we understand the existing seed system really disqualifies a number of people that really, in actual fact, should be qualified. The recertification is happening as we speak. It's just about wrapping up, and it has been a very intense, very involved, personalized process, and that is almost complete. And so it is enshrined within a legislative framework. So we are doing all of this to ensure that people are not left out of the equation who really should be there. So ultimately, we can expect to see a sort of revamp of the seed program and ensure that the seed really is streamlined to accommodate a graduation out process, so that youths, for example, who might be unemployed or who would have gone to school and so on, they have the opportunity to either skill train and become independent of the system, and then you graduate out of it into gainful employment or self-employment, as the case may be. We are also looking at the possibility of removing some of the senior citizens and maybe even putting them over to the NIS, of course, and I'm saying this very guardedly because it's a process that must be properly studied, right? And NIS is more equipped to handle that than under the ministry, for example. So if you were to move that out and really streamline seed to fulfill its purpose as support for education, empowerment and development, and ensure that these conditions are properly met and satisfied, we can expect to see a better delivery of service and people really receiving a transformative life over time. And that is what we're trying to achieve.
Well, we want to thank you very much for that, and let me, on behalf of all of us, express our deep condolences to you on the recent passing of your dad. Yes. I know that Mr. Patrick was very proud of you, very proud of you, and so on. And so I know that the family is going through this little period now, and we continue to pray for you and your family.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for being here, Minister.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, good.
We are going to have a conversation next with our Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment, Energy, and so the Honorable Karine James. And we need to ask her a couple of questions because, like the Prime Minister pointed out in his last press conference, what Minister James is leading is the future of Grenada, whether or not we even have a Grenada in the future based on how we treat our environment. So she's heading a very important, definitely, ministry, and a lot was mentioned in the throne speech by Her Excellency as to what's happening under your stewardship. Mainstreaming climate resilience, that is really important, and the efforts, like the Governor General pointed out, are underway to mainstream climate resilience across sectors like education and fisheries, with a focus on combating coastal erosion and sea level rise. These are huge issues, and I'm sure if as citizens we are honest enough with ourselves, we can notice a bit of difference happening with our seas around us, our coastlines, our beaches, and so on. You know, we see certain things happening. We see the erosions and so on. Usually we'd have a lot of rains and there wouldn't be much of a slide here and there, but now we're seeing more of it. You know, like we are seeing the changes, subtle, but it's happening. What is government's policy on this? What is the focus for government on mainstreaming climate resilience?
Well, thank you so much for that, and good afternoon to everyone and to our listening public. We envision as a government, we envision building a sustainable and resilient future for all Grenadians. As you rightfully mentioned, most of our coastal areas have been badly eroded simply because of us not being aware as to how to properly and in an environmentally conscious way to respect our natural resources. So sand mining has been one of the challenges that we've experienced quite well over a decade that has caused further erosion of our coastline beaches and so.
So we're still having a huge issue with sand mining?
We are still having an issue with it, not in the great context as it used to happen before, but it's still a challenge for us. What we have seen is through partnership with the government of Grenada and other international and regional organizations, there has been many projects designed and curated to assist with lessening down the erosion that is happening in our coastal areas in the north. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with Telescope area.
Yes.
That has been an area that has been badly affected. They have lost acres of land where it once used to be playing fields and so. So what this administration is doing now is to ensure that when we speak about mainstreaming climate change, we don't do it in a superficial context. It's not about being a talk shop. It's not about traveling to places and attending conferences and meetings and saying that we want change. But when you come and you look in the respective countries, especially small islands, you see something different. Yes? So our ambition is to ensure that we implement projects. We first and foremost develop projects that meets the need of our Grenadian public, that meets the need of what our areas, our parishes need at this point. How can we harness our natural resources to ensure that we diversify our economic sector is another policy framework that we will implement as we go along for Budget 2024. We have policies and legislations on the books that I believe has been outdated for quite some time. The penalties are not strict enough, if I am being blatantly honest. And I think that as citizens, yes, we inherited all of these problems, not on our doing, but we have a responsibility as environmental citizens to ensure that we do not prolong or make it even worse. So we have to ensure that while we speak mainstreaming within the sectors in tourism, in health, in education, in sports, and in agriculture as well as fisheries, we also have to ensure that our legislative framework harnesses the policy so that when we implement projects, it's not going the project is almost like a failure. The implementation of it is successful, but then the longevity of it fails. So we have to have that approach across government to ensure that our mandate for building a sustainable and more resilient future for our citizens are adhered to. So that's what we mean by when we say mainstreaming climate change.
That's right. I know that the COP meeting is fast approaching.
Yes.
You are expected to be there?
Yes,
of course.
we have a solid contingent for COP28 this year in Dubai in end of November into December. And our main goal, as you've heard it mentioned in the throne speech, and Prime Minister have mentioned it several occasions, we want to ensure that we diversify our energy sector to ensure that Grenada lead by example in the region and in the world for the just energy transition. What do I mean by that? We want to ensure that we lessen our carbon footprints, phase down and phase out of our heavily reliance on diesel. And so we have looked at quite a number of different alternative energy forms. We have solar, we have wave, we have engaged wave energy, as well as ocean and geothermal energy as well. We have a project currently ongoing in Carriacou. It started in 2018. We only saw advancement on the ground, and when I speak about us having projects but not being able to implement and fulfill the projects. So it's well over 6 years, and I'm happy to announce that the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique will be our pilot baby for our solar energy interventions that we want to undergo as a government. That solar PV site in Nimle is aiming to phase out 600 kilowatts of our diesel consumption in Carriacou. So it's a big deal. And what we want to do is, Carriacou and Petit Martinique is unique in a sense that it is not heavily populated. So we have an opportunity, just as other small islands did in the past, like St. Eustatius and among others. We want to make our Petit Martinique 100% renewable so that we could lobby for projects. One of the projects that we want to do in collaboration with Greenlink is a 21 megawatt solar PV project across Grenada. We have identified 4 sites. We are currently in the negotiation and the study phase of seeing if it's feasible, ensuring that we de-risk some of these projects that we want to undergo. So we are aiming at that. So COP for us is, yes, we have to make the pronouncements. Yes, we have a duty as member states in AOSIS and other small island organizations to ensure that we lobby and the negotiations go our way to ensure that our climate finance structures are more robust and that it doesn't leave us in a worse off situation of not having proper access to grant as well as concessionary loans for projects that we need in order for us to survive. So we have our regional mandate, we have our local mandate, which is to diversify our energy sector, look at renewable energy as the alternative towards building our resilience, towards ensuring that our people are more environmentally conscious, and to ensure that our island is beautifully placed on the map to lead the way for renewables. Yeah.
I know the throne speech also spoke of some key policies that would come before the Houses of Parliament for discussion, and we're talking about the national energy policy as well, which is still being formulated.
Well, we have concluded, we've had several consultations on the national energy policy. It was shared to the public some months back, and we have successfully already passed that. So what we continue to encourage National Regional CARICOM Energy Month is coming up next month, and we would give many persons in the private sector, the youth sector, as well as other sectors to express what they would like to see when we speak about the just transition. What does it mean for us locally? How can households benefit from tapping into renewable energy? How can they benefit from making their homes more energy efficient? What investment opportunities are there for persons in the private sector? We see the banking sector has already gone past government in a sense in terms of offering investment packages and so to tapping into renewable energy. So we want to ensure that, yes, the global dialogue is about building a sustainable future for all, but we have to ensure that we shape that narrative of what it means. What does that mean to us in a local context? So there will be opportunities, despite we have already concluded on national energy policy. It is not set in stone. Things may arise based on what is happening around us, the trends that is happening. So we want to continue to implore on our citizens to get more involved, read more, open your eyes, and not just for that sector, but in general. We are approaching another budget cycle, and I trust that my young counterparts, they are going out to the budget consultation sessions that they have. So it's important for us we want to shape our future in a way that it not only serves the needs of now, but generations to come. And so this government has demonstrated that we have not only declarated intent, but we have catalyst actions that we've already undergone, and that we are anticipating to do so. And so it's not a situation whereby whatever we say, you just grab it down your throat and you expect that things should happen. We want you to be a part of it. We want all of you to come out, to be a part of the sessions. What does developing, transforming Grenada means to you? 2024, the 2024 outlook. So it's a collaborative process. My ministry is open towards ensuring that we continue our stakeholder dialogue, we continue on a consultative approach that we have already started. We want to make the best decisions for our country in terms of what Grenada is going to invest in, whether it be local funds or what we are going to ascribe to at COP and at other meetings that are coming up. And yeah, I mean, I'm just excited and hopeful for this country, and I thank Prime Minister for placing such a heavy mandate on me. I have not failed as yet, and I don't intend to.
That's right.
We have big shoes to fill and big footsteps to follow on, and I think that one of the key takeaways of this throne speech is that government is a continuum. So I am fed up with the back and forth, and I'm fed up of this side versus that side, and I think that we should come together to ensure that whatever is inputted in budget 2024, it is something that the people of Grenada love. When we say building climate resilience, when we say diversifying and ensuring that we have energy security, what does that mean to you? And what plans, projects, policies that you can give to us so that we can implement 2024?
I think Mr. Robinson wanted to
I just want to compliment you. I don't think it was by chance that the Prime Minister chose you to be in this ministry as the youngest one. And let's look at all of the climate warriors, so to speak, across the world. Young people, right? Fighting for the planet and so on. And you have demonstrated in all that you continue to do that you have taken this task on very seriously, Minister. And I see it in your achievements. I mean, we're talking about climate resilient training that has already been done. Accreditation to climate funds.
Yes.
Right? You have achieved that. Resource mobilization. Things are happening. And I hear you talking about mainstreaming climate resilience. Everything you say is about mainstreaming climate resilience, and getting us all there. And the strides that you have made in renewable energy and so on, transitions for Grenada. So, I mean, you have to be complimented for the task that you have taken on and the way you have, embraced the challenge and gone out there. And so I like to hear that. And apart from that, I love the hat.
Thank you. We must come through with the looks. Yeah, hello. It's beauty and brains. Beauty and brains.
But really, you have to be complimented for all that you continue to do. And I want to wish you all the best as you go forward. I mean, getting young people to embrace this and to make the change. And it's going to happen with young people, right?
Of course.
And they're going to force the parents and so on to make the changes that are necessary. So we look forward to a climate resilient future for Grenada.
Yes.
When you spoke just now, I pictured 50, 60 years from now when you will be trotted out as one of the champions of climate change for Grenada and so on down the road, starting so young. So thank you very much, Minister.
Well, a lot of us, we like the titles, and so there's plenty of people out there with different titles in the climate space. But I think my biggest accomplishment, and I wouldn't stop until I do that, is to ensure that whenever my tenure is complete, whenever my work is complete in the climate space, that persons could actually say, yes, I was able to phase out that refrigerator because it didn't have refrigerants, and thank the minister and her team for ensuring that she educated and re-educated me in terms of good practices. So it's not just about being a talk shop for climate change, but to actually implement projects at the local level so that we all benefit from it. And hats off to all of the Grenadians that are doing their thing out there in the international space, and those who have signaled that they want to come back and work with government. Thank you. I wouldn't, it would be remiss of me not to mention that. Yes. But we have had a lot of Grenadians out there employed with international organizations doing a phenomenal job in lobbying for small island developing states like Grenada, among others. So hats off to those Grenadians, hats off to those who have said, listen, I've done enough for the region, I need to come back and do more for Grenada. So I love you, I appreciate you, thank you so very much. And just to finally conclude, we have heads of government meeting, second heads of government meeting on climate change Thursday and Friday of this week. So Prime Minister will be hosting his counterparts here, and part of the dialogue would be how do we get a unified approach as we approach COP28, and what are the key themes and sectors that we would be lobbying for. So I am looking forward to the outcomes of that meeting here. It's one of the first for Grenada, so good hats off to Prime Minister for always leading the way economy and making sure that climate change is on the agenda for Grenada and for the region.
Thank you,
Thank you, Minister. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So viewers, this is where we really wrap up our broadcast for today. Wow, a lot happening today.
A lot happened.
It has been a packed morning.
It has.
We sat in this room and we watched history take place.
Yes.
You know, we were able to witness the throne speech, or the gracious address as it's called, by Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade, really setting the tone for government for the next year. And if this is what is to come, I know that we have a lot in store for us.
We have a lot in store. You know, the Prime Minister has taken on a big load. You know, 13 areas that they're going to be concentrating on as they go forward in the new session. So we want to encourage the government and all of the ministers and so on to you know, take up that load, run with it, and to those who all of us who have to support them in these activities, because at the end of the day they benefit the people of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique in a big way. And there's a lot that I saw here. I'm sorry that we didn't get Minister Tevin Andrew on to speak with, but there's a lot that we're going to be seeing in Carriacou and Petit Martinique over the next session of Parliament. So we want to compliment the government for taking on the task, grasping it with both hands and running with it, and to encourage them. Yes, and pray that all that has been taken on will be a success.
Definitely. Just to remind persons of the theme, because I realize this is sort of like the undertone theme as we approach 50, forward into 50, reflecting on our past, solidifying our future. It feels like we're all a part of this. This is a whole nation approach, an all Grenadian approach, whether you're living here on the rock or in the diaspora. So, you know, we are all involved. We're all a part of this process. And it's a good time to be alive.
It is a good time to be alive. We live in historic times. And I want to say thank you very much, Abigail, for co-hosting with me today.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah,
you made it very easy.
Well, we tried.
You know, get to learn from the greats.
You know, but you know, the good thing, the other thing is that, you know, I think we, in terms of doing this kind of broadcast, we're both virgins.
But this is a breakout session.
Yes, it's a breakout session. So it's the first time, and thank you very much. And to those of you who have been viewing, and so thank you very much for staying with us during this period, and we look forward to your continued support of the GIS as we continue with this transformational agenda that the government has taken on, so that we see big changes in the way that we live and work in Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. All the best to you. Blessings.
Take care.